children. And at that point, we had to think about, okay, well, what is marriage now? And I think what it is what I said earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm okay with gay people getting married, but I think it's mostly because of feelings. It's like, well, you get to get married, why can't I get married? Okay.
Well, I used to think that, but I'm not married, so I don't know the details, but there's some sort of like legal benefits. There's like government benefits that come with having a marriage, right?
Right. And it's easier.
Yeah.
I get that. But the thing is, any legal benefit a marriage could bring you, a contract could also give you. Like, for example, visitor rights at a hospital or something like that. You can pull out a piece of paper and say, hey, I'm not legally married to this person, but this person has granted me the right to come in to the hospital to visit, whatever. Yeah, so you can actually make contracts that would mimic marriage.
Now, is that something that already exists, or is that something you're like proposing should
No, I
exist?
think civil unions are very much like that.
Oh yeah, I remember back in the 2000s there was like civil unions where like gay people were technically married, but we just didn't call it marriage. Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind that, I guess, but I think the reason why civil unions went away is because of that emotional weight of like not being able to say they're married. Yeah. Before I go, I'd like to ask Nuala one last thing, which is like, what would it take to change your mind that um, there would be no harms to uh, a same-sex couple raising children?
Well, like I said, I'm not saying that there'd be harms. I just think it's more beneficial.
Okay, what
For
would
the
what would it take to
child.
change your mind on that if you found out that they were equally beneficial given the same variables in place? Uh, what would it take?
What would it take to be convinced that gay couples can raise children as well as heterosexual couples? Is that the question?
Yeah, yeah.
Evidence, like maybe.
It wasn't a question to you, Doug. I respect your interjection,
Oh, you're
but
not allowing me
I'm
to
definitely.
cheat and and come in. Hey, Nulu, say something like high school graduation rates.
What is it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that just yeah, like if you look at statistics that we currently have, like without, let's say, doing the experiment of putting a whole bunch of children into homosexual homes to see the results and following children, 20 years down the road and trying to get the biggest sample sizes possible, you could also just look at the data we have of children who don't have, let's say, fathers.
Yeah,
And then you
I think there's a
extrapolate that, right?
strong case that lesbians should not adopt, but it would be a harder case for gay men.
Yeah, I don't
Lesbians have
have data
higher
on that, but I mean, I'm
abuse
totally
rates.
minded. Like, I'm not you guys know I'm not some far left woke person. It's just, I don't know data that shows any of that.
But like I said, I would prefer, it's like once the children are out of their formative years. So it's like I prefer children in their formative years who are newer to the planet to be able to try and have a better fighting chance by getting a heterosexual couple. However, the older children, and I'm not saying that they're less deserving of normalcy or that they are less deserving of having both a male and a female in the household available, and that there could be detriments to not having that balance. But if it's choosing having a home with a couple who's gay over being raised in foster care or in these orphanages, which I've seen, I live near one.
Yeah, you
In
would
my
rather
house.
people have parents than not have parents. I get that.
Yes, but the
It's
babies, I would prefer if there's like given a chance or whatever, they get the pick of the litter. They get the pick of the heterosexual parents, the ones that are still below the age of 5.
yeah. I'm just I mean, was it data that got you into? It's okay if it's not. You can be honest with me. I'm not gonna like derail everything over that. I just was it if it wasn't polling that got, or data, I should say, if it wasn't some statistics that got you to believe that heterosexual couples are better than gay couples, um, then like why would you want statistics to change your mind?
Well, you have to first ask.
Why would I want?
You first have to ask, was it data or not? That
Yeah, let's ask that first. Was it data? Yeah.
I would say, well, like I said, it was data based on heterosexual couples with a lack of a father, right, or a lack of a
Well,
mother
you
in the
you
formative
see,
years. So
yeah.
mothers are
So
more important. Mothers are
mhm,
more important in the formative years. Um, Fathers are more
okay,
important afterwards.
okay.
Mostly
So
mothers are the most important within the first 2 years, and then even like potty
mm,
training and stuff, fathers start becoming more important when the children start
okay,
needing more discipline, that sort of thing. Mothers are very good at nurturing.
mm,
Fathers are
yeah,
good at correcting if they are a healthy man. Now, I'm not saying that heterosexual relationships don't have unhealthy dynamics, but it
yeah.
seems as though there's, for example, the statistics of domestic violence in lesbian couples. That's a statistic
Mm,
that made me
yeah.
think about why that would be less ideal statistically, the probability of having an less healthy dynamic among your parents would be if they were lesbians.
Yeah, yeah. So, I
Um,
mean, the way I'm looking at this is that there could be a lot of possibilities here.
Violence.
It could be possible that children at a young age need a father figure. Um, but in that case, there wouldn't be an issue with having two dads. So, uh,
Yeah, I'm arguing that you need both. The same way that I would
yeah,
also argue that there's too many women in the education system and that we need more men in there as well.
hey,
That the boys are
hey,
yeah.
suffering
Nula,
because of that.
have you ever heard me say that? Because I did a video once on how to make the education system better, and I said we should strive for at least 50, well, yeah, in middle school, at least 50-50 men and women teachers, and then in high school, mostly men teachers. And then in younger ages, I'm a little hesitant to say a high percentage of men because I don't trust men around kids. Um, so
Interesting. I didn't hear you say that. I'll have to yeah, check it out sometime. My phone is about to die and I have to do a little bit of cooking. It's dinner time, so I have to focus on that
Oh
for a
no.
moment. But I might come back in a little bit.
okay,
Um yeah, I gotta get I gotta focus on the food for my family at the moment. Thanks, guys.
you're a good mother.
Yeah, before I go, I just want to say I think we all, maybe not all of us in this room, but probably most of us have a natural intuition that tells us, oh yeah, one mother, one father, that would be best for everybody. I mean, I have that intuition, but I just, I don't let intuitions drive my confidence too high if I don't have data, and
Yeah,
uh,
I'm getting kind of
I don't
sick
want to
and
be
tired of
guilty of
hearing that
making like
rhetoric, to be honest. Like I think it's a type of virtue signaling. I've stopped giving my opinions unless I have the data, the scientific literature to back it up. It's so pretentious to me.
Yeah, I don't mean I should say that I don't let everything I believe be decided by, whether I've seen a study or not, because that's just not realistic.
Right.
But I I I don't let my natural instincts, like I don't follow the naturalistic fallacy is what I'm trying to say. Like
Well,
just because it's natural doesn't mean it's right.
true. Like our intuitions
Yeah.
often betray us, but our
Yeah.
intuitions are often correct as well. And so you just don't discount it. Like I want to make an analogy to dogs. Like I'm a pretty staunch naturalist. I think we're animals, and I think some animals, like dogs, have a pretty good instinct on who's the bad guy. Um, In fact, I have a story of our dog not letting in one person into our house, but 4 other people. It's like this dog said, yeah, okay, you guys pass, this guy, no. And if you ask other German Shepherd owners, they'll tell you the same thing. And I think we humans have something similar to that, where we can sense that this person's not a good person. And we can't explain it, we can't pinpoint it, and there's probably no scientific study to back it up. Well, maybe there is. And so,
well, yeah, I guess it's just like we can, it's great when we have anecdotes like that we later find out, oh, they really were a bad person. But there's got to be a bunch of times where it's inconclusive. We either don't know if they were a bad person or we know that they weren't a bad person.
yeah. And, there's social cues that we pick up on in communication, like small ticks and stuff that we don't even realize we're picking up, but we're picking it up. And I'm not saying that it's infallible, but I think people poo-poo intuitions and common sense way too quickly.
Yeah, I'm just saying they don't warrant high confidence. So like if my dog barked at one person, uh I know the dog is looking out for my best interest, but if I don't find out who that person was and why they were there, I'm not going to have high confidence that that dog made a good judgment call.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's also...
Is that where we're different?
It depends on like what's in it for you. Like if let's say my dog wouldn't let one person in, and it's really a stranger to me and just my son's quasi friend, I'm okay with the dog being wrong and excluding someone. And that's a personality type of mine that, I'm okay with excluding people.
Yeah. Do we agree that if someone opposed gay adoption because of their intuition that having a mother and a father in the house is what's best? Do you
purely
think
intuition? No, I think when it comes to public
purely
policy,
intuition.
Yeah, I believe when it comes to public policy, there has to be more than that. But I think we actually do have some pretty good data on that. For example, what Nuala was mentioning earlier, that fatherless homes seems like the kids do worse on so many metrics, like mental health, high school graduation, criminality, all that sort of thing.
I wonder what her reasoning would be for forbidding like 2 dads, though,
Right,
or even just one dad.
That's the point I was making too. Like I actually think there's enough data to make it public policy for lesbians never to adopt, because even lesbian divorce rates, I think, is like 79%. And the general population is around 50. And even gay men, their divorce rates are much lower. And divorce is not a good thing for children. And so, you could just make a blanket law. Lesbians can't adopt. And the lesbians will cry and cry and cry. But I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, but it'll be better for the children, yeah.
Yeah. It's all about the children. Teach them well and let them lead the way.
Okay. So in your opinion, then, can 2 dads be just as good at parenting as a dad and a mother on average?
Yeah, of course. And I think if you look at the averages, though, I think it's best and better to have male and female raising children.
If you look at the averages,
Why?
okay, why is that?
For the exact same reason that Nuala was saying, that I think we evolved for procreation between a male and a female. And I think we have this natural proclivity. We're inclined to value our own bloodline more than other bloodlines. This is why so many parents are disappointed when they find out their kids are gay, for example. It's because I really wanted like my genetics for kids. And gay people can't do that. It's like they have to adopt or they have to get a surrogate or whatever. And so it is completely understandable for grandparents to be disappointed, or parents be disappointed in their kids when they find out they're gay, because of this natural proclivity, this wanting, this longing of this vicarious living through their bloodline.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking the truth.
Unfortunately, I dealt with that personally. I came out as gay when I was a teenager. Now I actually don't think I'm gay. I think I'm bisexual, but At the time, I thought
Nothing
I was
wrong with
gay.
that.
And,
Actually, there is something wrong with
yeah.
that. You're taking potentially people away from heterosexuals. Like you're playing both sides of the field. Like you got to pick a
Yeah,
side.
yeah. I'm stealing them. Like, oh, that's a whole other story. Like, should we give everyone a pill that makes them all bisexual so we all have the largest dating pool?
No,
Um,
that'd be
but
like too much work. I mean,
yeah. But anyway, just yeah, my mother was
I already
really
have to
sad at
fend
first.
myself off from the women. Like, and then I have to fend myself. I mean, just I'd rather just have one side
Okay.
to fight.
Yeah. But okay, to be clear before I go, this it sounds like you do think that a man and a woman would be better. You have that intuition, but you wouldn't let that intuition prevent like two dads from being able to adopt because
No.
right now the data doesn't show anything bad. So I have that right, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, a public policy there has to be more than intuition, but I do think there is sufficient data right now to say to be complete for me to be completely fine with lesbians not being allowed to adopt.
Okay. Yeah.
Gay men,
All
I think,
right then.
is tougher.
Yeah. Okay. We agree on what's important here, not just going off of intuition to decide policy. All right, that's awesome, Doug.
Plus, lesbians have a really bad sense of humor, and I think it's very important to raise kids with a sense of humor. And look, there's
Yeah, I
three
agree.
lesbians in my live stream chat who just left because they don't have a sense of humor.
Wait, so we are live. You're live.
Yeah, you said 5 minutes, and I started at 5 minutes. So.
Oh, okay. All right then. I'm gonna get going though, but I'll be watching.
Yep, and if you're always welcome to come back when I live stream, face to face.
Okay. See ya.
But yeah, I watched the Canadian-American game, and I was interacting with my Canadian family via Facebook Messenger. And to me, like, if U.S. lost, it's no big deal. But I kept ribbing them, and oh, we're gonna win. And whenever we scored a goal, I did a AI picture of Trump with his thumb up. Then I could sense they were getting a little perturbed, so I had to pull back. But then they won. Canada won. And so I was happy for Canada that they won because I think Canada needed that. Canada needed some uplifting because they feel a little down nowadays because they're powerless, like the Democrats. Democrats are powerless right now. Canadians are powerless. They have no leverage against the U.S. Well, very little. They have a little bit. They got oil.
And moose.
And moose. I was watching Jeopardy the other day, and the category was plural with no S, and it said moose, and a Jeopardy contestant actually said meese. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So even smart people can.
One goose, many geese. One moose, many.
Moose.
Oh.
Hey guys, I had a great conversation yesterday with a guy who is actually one of my poker buddies, but he leans pretty far left. He's from Canada, and he expressed his real disappointment in me because of how I handle my conversations about politics. And I kept on asking, well, why? What? Be specific. What am I doing wrong? And he ended up coming on Discord here, and we talked for an hour and a half, and we resolved a lot of things. And it basically comes down to this. I think this is the case for a lot of people who disagree with me politically. They don't like my style and rhetoric when it comes to politics, even though they like it when it comes to theism, because of the personality type of detailed oriented. People don't like that I'm top level often, that I basically have these big ideas, big, things you would read at the top of a newspaper, and they want to delve deep and be careful with the wording and dot the I's and cross the T's. And I think that is true for a lot of people, that they just don't like my style. more so than, let's say, my politics. Do you guys think that's true?
I think it's easier for you to do it from a theistic perspective, because people don't give a shit, right? People are not as emotionally invested
Like
into
the atheists, you
that
mean?
domain. Yeah, the atheists aren't invested in that, but they are invested in politics.
Right. I think you're right. But I mentioned this to my friend yesterday that some of the complaints he has given me about how I talk about politics, I've heard the exact same words from Christians. Say, Doug, I used to respect you, but then I saw you talk to this Christian, and I'm a fellow Christian, and you just like, you were so bad faith and so insincere. And it's like, it's because it was emotional for him. And this is why I truly believe that when it comes to having conversations with people about deeply held beliefs, you got to be dead inside. You got to be more dead inside.
I mean, the bit of advice that I give everyone is like, get good at arguing for the other position and just like numb that out. Just because you don't care when you're attacked and you're defending a position you don't hold. Oh no.
Right.
And if you stop that lizard brain from going, you're able to relax a little bit and actually have a more productive conversation when you're defending stuff you actually do believe.
Right. So the trick is not to care.
I don't know if not care is the way I would put it. I might say, shut the ego up a little bit, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and
same difference.
And it's tough to like just flip a switch and tell yourself not to care, but I think people can do it by pretending they're an actor and they're being paid vast sums of money to pretend not to care. And then by pretending not to care, you can actually dialogue with people much better.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. Who was I just talking to? Was it Gopnik? Gopnik. That's quite the name.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember Landon.
Landon?
Philosophy loser, long curly hair.
No, I don't remember
No?
philosophy.
Oh, if I get on camera, you'll remember.
Okay. Hey, Danny, what's your story?
This guy.
Ah, yes, I remember you. Okay.
I don't know. I've just been sitting here listening, silently disagreeing, the usual.
What do you guys think about, and I'm going to open up Whereby as well, just in case somebody wants to come in. I feel that the Democrats are just imploding. They don't know what to do with themselves. They haven't learned their lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like they still think that the majority of people are on their side in some weird way when they're not. They still think that they can just say things like you're a fascist, you're a racist, and you're a bigot and think that's going to work, and it doesn't. Like, do you guys hang around people like that?
Who's saying you're a racist and a bigot? I see fascism.
I think it's
around a lot.
anthropomorphic. I think it's sort of.
That.
Oh,
big picture.
MacGruber, you're very, very quiet. But oh yeah, I've been called racist and bigot.
Yeah, but maybe now, or maybe earlier. But like, who in the news is calling racist bigot?
Oh, what's that black lady on The View? She still, I think, will use that language.
Whoopi Goldberg. Well, who takes Whoopi Goldberg seriously?
Well, but that's the thing. Like, you can always say that, right? Well, who takes them seriously? I still think, like, look at what was the Democratic convention or committee that was a couple weeks ago, and a woman gets up and says something like, okay, we're going to cast our votes now, and that you have to vote for 2 men, 2 women, and 2 non-binary, or something like that. It's like,
it sounds like the Democratic Socialists, not the DNC.
No, I think it was the DNC, but I could be wrong.
Because there was that viral Democratic Socialist meeting where they kept saying, point of order, that's triggering.
Was that the Democratic Socialist Party?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my advice to Democrats nowadays would be you got to look for things that you sincerely agree with Trump on and vocalize it. Like if you want any credibility. So if you're a Democrat, you have to say, yeah, we need to get rid of waste. I mean, seriously, $21 million to Iran for Sesame Street? Really? No, we got to stop that. You got to be a Democrat and be able to say, I support Elon Musk and Donald Trump in doing this. And I think if you're a Democrat and you do stuff like this, then Republicans are going to say, okay, you're not crazy.
I suppose that's one way of doing it. It's not my preferred solution. I think it won't really solve anything, not in the long run.
Well, it depends what you want to solve. Like if you want to solve waste in government, yeah, that will solve that if you cut the waste.
So according to the Daily Mail, which is a conservative-leaning website / newspaper, the DNC chair was saying that if they elect a non-binary officer, then that doesn't count towards the gender balance. Because they wanted to have a gender-balanced leadership.
So that was the DNC chair, not the DNC Socialist Party, whatever?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, see, that sort of rhetoric is crazy, in my opinion, and it turns off the average American voter. Like if you're a normal, average American, depends what normal means, but...
no, I know what you mean.
Yeah, if you're not in the queer community, you're going to hear that and go, what's wrong with these people?
Or even if you are.
Yeah, or even if you are, you're right. There's a lot of people in the queer communities who think a lot of this is nonsense. And I think the Democrats have to realize that they have absolutely no power, no leverage right now. And that every type of pushback that they're doing, like let's say in the courts, for example, is going to backfire on them.
Well, you could have said the same about Donald Trump after 2020. You could have said,
well, he wasn't in power.
Not in power.
You mean
back then.
Well, Donald Trump he didn't even run for president until, 2 years prior he announced?
No, he was campaigning the entire time. And like he would hold rallies like the entire time. And he would constantly be bullying Republicans to adopt his policies.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'm just trying to remember the timing.
My point is that like it's not because they don't have powers, because there's not a leadership that can bully Congress or the presidency to do anything.
Right. They don't have they don't own the Senate, the House.
But neither did the Republicans, and they were still able to basically, control a lot of the conversation.
Well, hang on. Now you're forcing me to think back who controlled the Senate and the House, and let's say you're talking 2021 or what?
Didn't Democrats control the Senate in
I think it was divided
2020?
At least partly through Biden's term. Yeah, it was.
It was.
It was. In 20 I think the Republicans held the Congress and Democrats held the Senate from 2020 to 2022, right?
I think they lost seats in 2022 though.
Right. And then the Democrats took power in the Congress, in the House, and I think it was it exactly tied in the Senate? And so basically, the
I
Democrats
don't
had the
think-
power in the Senate, but only through the Vice President Harris.
Yeah, they lost the House in 2022.
Right. Yeah. So what I'm saying is the power dynamic that is right now, I don't think Biden ever had.
But my point is, Trump had such a sway over the Republican Party because he's so popular among the voters. So if they could, if the Democrats could muster up a Barack Obama type, then they could use just their popularity to drive certain policy or certain or priorities of the Democrats, and not just cry fascist, which lost them the election anyway.
Okay, that's an interesting take. Like, do you think that it's charisma that drives the policy,
Yes.
or the policy that drives the
charisma that drives the policy?
Yes,
Do you
yeah,
think the
I disagree with that.
average
I think
cares about gold bars in Fort Knox, or
no, maybe
you
not
know.
that, but there's other issues like males competing against females in sports. I don't care how charismatic a Democrat is. I don't think you're going to convince the majority of Americans that that's a good thing, that penises should be hanging out in change rooms with women.
If the Democrats just became pro-gun and anti-illegal immigration, then I think the Republicans would never win another election. But they won't. It's crazy.
Well,
I'm exaggerating a little bit, but they would be much, 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 much more competitive.
Yeah, those are big issues. And if the Republicans would say that they're okay with some abortions, maybe one could say they would never lose an election.
I don't think so. I think the American people don't care about that.
About abortion?
The last election. Yeah, as evidence in the last election.
Well, it's still like 25% care deeply. Half of women.
Doug, do you really think transgender bathroom issues is an actually significant?
Yes,
policy?
but not for it at face value. It represents so many other things, like free speech, the ability to purposely make people cry. It represents how we do education. Like, my wife's a teacher. My daughter is a teacher's aide in a different school.
So they're getting paid absolutely nothing.
Yeah, not much anyhow. And it's unbelievable how much of this, it's going away now, but this whole kids in grade 2 and 3, and you have to respect their pronouns and stuff. Like, I think this has to go. No, you tell a young child, no, you are a boy, but I'm a girl. No, you're a boy, but I'm a girl. No, you're a boy. And let the left-wing progressives cry child abuse if they want. I don't care. This type of nonsense has to stop.
It's just, of all the things that I would consider big problems facing the world or facing our country, or I have 2 countries.
So do I.
It to me, this trans issues are important insofar as their rights aren't curtailed, but I do not care.
What do you think are the big issues? Immigration?
How many bombs were dropping, and how much pollution.
Okay, so with bombs dropping, therefore, then you would vote for Trump, and then with pollution, you would vote for Harris?
I don't know why I would vote for Trump for bombs dropping.
Well, most people I think view Trump as the anti-war candidate.
Yeah, it's not the sort of view I had, and I think it's much more. I don't want to say systemic and be like, oh gosh, philosophers speak, but it's more along the lines of Trump. I don't think will be the sort of silver bullet to stop these bombs from dropping. Putin was still going to invade Ukraine if Trump was president in 2020. Hamas attacking Israel and Israel invading Palestine would have still happened. To me, America is a superpower and it controls a lot of influence. But at the end of the day, the people that want to drop bombs are going to drop bombs regardless of who's in power.
Yeah, well, if they really, really want to drop bombs, yeah, if they're intellectual about it and say, okay, if I drop a bomb and Biden's in power, what happens? If I drop a bomb and Trump's in power, what happens? If they're smart, they think about these things, right?
I suppose.
Yeah. So let's say you're a foreign country and you view Trump as a wild card, a little bit of a crazy man, a little bit dangerous. I think you would think twice about dropping a bomb, let's say, compared to Biden or Harris.
No, not particularly. Like
Really?
Crimea, I think. The stuff in Ukraine was still going to happen in 2021.
Okay.
It was still going to happen.
I disagree with you on that. I think people. This is part of the reason why I like Trump is because of the stereotype against him, that he's a little bit racist, a little bit dangerous, a little bit crazy. Like if you had to have someone to defend you in a back alley, and there's a big guy who seems like he's frothing at the mouth and a little bit unhinged, but he's on your side, and then you got another guy who's smaller and acts a little more normal. I want the crazy guy.
Yeah, but I'm not convinced the crazy guy isn't going to start whooping my ass in a few minutes.
That's true. You got to be confident that he's not going to turn on you, but
yeah, I'm not confident that he's not going to turn on me.
Yeah. But I think when it comes to foreign policy, this is one of the reasons why I did vote for Trump. Foreign policy, immigration, and critical theory type stuff. I didn't vote for Trump for economic reasons, although I am so pleasantly surprised that they're actually starting to cut real things, like do real cuts.
Yeah, I'm sure you're happy about that.
I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
I have a question. Do you think your taxes are going to go down next year?
Down? No.
Okay. So if they're cutting funding, but your taxes aren't going down, where's that money going to go?
If they're cutting funding.
If they're cutting, all these silly programs, Sesame Street and the Middle East, all these frivolous programs that we hear Elon and the Doge team talking about on the news. If they're cutting those programs, they're saving the money.
Okay, you're under the impression that money exists, right?
I mean, if they're not cutting that money, what are they cutting? The non-existent money?
They're cutting the money, so there's less money going out. But where did that money come from in the first place? Is what I'm getting at. It comes it comes from borrowing, so you borrow less.
Okay.
Got it?
So
you don't borrow as much.
We'll see in a year. I don't think we're going to be borrowing any less, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But do you understand that your question originally made zero sense, because in your head you're thinking that, okay, we have this money, and if it's not going there, where's it going? No, you don't have that money. That money has to be gotten from the Federal Reserve and the Treasury and produced, because we are in a deficit situation, so it has to be borrowed. So you just don't borrow that money.
Yeah, I mean, whenever the government sort of quote-unquote saves money, I never see the budget going down, and I never see the taxes going down. I never see the borrowing going down. Whenever we have a reallocation or an increase in taxes or cut, I never see that, hey, we're just not going to keep this money. No, they spend it on other worthless shit.
Yeah, well, and I hope that stops. And I'm actually optimistic that it will. Like I think Elon's goal is 1 trillion in budget cuts. And then he mentioned maybe give 20% of that to the taxpayers. I think that's so politically brilliant. And the Democrats hate that idea because they know that if every taxpayer household gets a $5,000 check in the mail this year, that will help them lock up the midterms. And if they do it again, that might help lock up the next Republican presidency, which will help lock up further cuts to frivolous spending. And the Democrats know this, and so now they're really against this idea of. Now I'm hearing Democrats say things like, "Well, no, that's so stupid to give 5,000 checks to people. You should use it to pay down the debt." Now they're starting to talk like that. So it's a great manipulative tool that Trump and Elon are using to get them to actually start talking like them. Pay down the debt.
Yeah, I dislike it, but
You dislike getting a $5,000 check?
No, that's not what I dislike. I dislike that the Democrats are moving to the right.
Why? What do you got against the right?
Oh, countless reasons. I think they wear funny hats. I think they. I mean, again, we'll argue, and it'll come down to a core fundamental disagreement on what is important in the world. I'm going to maximize certain values. You're going to maximize other values. I don't think.
But I'm still not clear what the values are you have that makes you not like the right, or what values the left has that you value.
Yeah, because I want people to be outside coercive systems that I think the right sets forth.
You want people to be out. You don't want people to be forced to do things? Is that what you basically mean?
Yes, sure.
You think the right forces people to do things more than the left?
Yes.
Like what?
Selling their lives day by day to a corporation that couldn't piss on them if they were on fire.
Okay, but how's that different than the left?
Because I would hopefully want to stop that coercive system in its tracks.
But does the left do that? Stop that coercive system?
No, the left has no power.
No, and historically, when the left did have power...
Yeah, I mean, historically, sure, it happened more historically, but...
So,
we're talking about today.
The left stopped the idea of people being forced to go to work for corporations?
I think it's a little broader than just corporations. In certain instances, I don't care to talk about historically. It doesn't matter to me. I don't think today, in the world we find ourselves now, that the right imposing a lot of these laws are going to stop these sort of corrupt systems from snowballing into a bigger problem 20 years down the line.
So I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, can you give me something specific? So far, the only something.
Okay. I think that curtailing to Putin's regime in Ukraine is a bad thing. I think it is a bad thing for America. I think it's a bad thing for Ukraine.
Because?
Because, one, our soft power capability goes down because now the allies that we do have no fucking clue whether or not in another presidential term will align with another enemy.
Okay, and that's bad because?
Because we'll lose the allies we have currently.
And that's bad because?
What do you mean, Doug?
I'm unpeeling the onion.
No.
So
because that is a bad thing for us to have happen when the allies that we currently are aligned with, that we currently have trade agreements with, that we currently have military ties with, now are on the other team.
Okay, so
if we want
you're answering my question. You're answering my question. You gave one answer because of trade. So you think our trade will, like, we actually have a budget deficit with most countries. So if our trade stops, technically we might be better off.
I don't think that's how a trade deficit works, because
No, because it would force Americans to build within our own country, and that would create jobs.
I don't think that's going to happen, because America is long past us being a industrial power. We are a service industry power. We make our money by selling services, by doing that type. We're never going to have the manufacturing return to America. It will always be exported to countries that...
Never? Those are pretty big words. You're a philosopher. Yeah. You should know you shouldn't use those words so cavalierly.
I'll take your advice under consideration, but until then, I'll keep using them.
Okay, let's get back to... okay, I'll give you my stance. I've been asking you too many questions. My stance is that America should influence through diplomacy Putin's actions and try to stop the killing, try to stop more invasion. And I'm totally okay with carving out parts of Ukraine and giving it to Putin, because I think the alternative means more death, more destruction.
How is that not appeasement?
It is. I'm saying appease Putin.
Okay.
And now I want you to critique me on that.
Yeah, Putin invaded Ukraine for multiplicity of reasons. As long as he gets those reasons, then he's sitting happy. He would very much like to be in dialogue with Western powers, as long as those Western powers don't criticize his regime.
Okay, but so far you haven't critiqued anything I said. I want you to critique what I just said. So in other words, I'm saying appease Putin, carve out a section of Ukraine that he wants, and say, okay, you got it, buddy, but now you got to leave this other section alone.
Yeah, because appeasement hasn't worked in the past very well. But I'm ignoring that, because I think what Putin wants is he wants us to sell us shit and buy shit from us, with no oversight on what his people are suffering under, on a social...
Can we stay focused on Ukraine? Like, buying and selling stuff is kind of separate from Ukraine.
No, it's not. I don't think it is. I think it's the core reason why Ukraine was invaded. Buying and selling shit.
You don't think Crimea has anything to do with it?
Yes. Crimea...
Which is a military base?
Well, Crimea was invaded because Russia needs a warm water port to move all of the production that they have. They have a lot of natural resources. They don't have a lot of warm water ports.
Okay, so that gets to your trade point. Okay. And why is it such a bad idea to appease him?
Because I think we shouldn't curtail to autocratic regimes that oppress their people.
Okay, so are you willing to, as a U.S. taxpayer and voter, send U.S. troops there to fight against Russia?
No, I think there's an easier way for me to get around that.
How?
I would just go to Russia and vote in their elections.
Election interference?
Why would it be election interference? I'm a Russian citizen.
Oh, you're a Russian citizen. Okay. So,
that would be much easier to do then.
But 90% of the Russian people support Putin, right?
If only.
So you can't really trust that system, can you?
Nope.
Okay, so what's your solution then? I see only two solutions. And I'm going to purposely choose this language because I know it triggers the left. Appease Putin is option one and give him what he wants, with some restrictions. Option number two, full-fledged war. What would you prefer?
I would rather...
Maybe there's a third option. I'm open to hearing the third one.
I would rather not have full-fledged war. I don't think that American civilians and Russian civilians and Ukrainian civilians could be dying in a needless dick measuring contest.
Okay,
that
so if you
Putin
don't want
has.
war, how do we settle this?
We do not give Russia the seaports that Ukraine has full
They've taken
sovereign
it.
authority over. Okay.
How are you going to get it back?
According to you, Trump can do that very easily. Trump can
No.
say, hey, Russia, you don't get to keep the bombed out cities that you've massacred.
It's not according to me. I've never
civilians
said that. From my understanding, Russia already controls that area. And
Yep.
so the only way, in my view, to take it back is to fight for it. But I don't want that, and you don't want
or
that.
do it through treaty.
Well, good luck with
Give
that. Seems
Give
like
Ukraine back the land.
Russia is pretty much a self-sustaining country. It's very similar to the United States in that way, that if the whole world abandoned Russia, it would still survive. If the whole world abandoned America, we'd still survive. This is what makes us superpowers. That
Russia's not
we
a
have
superpower.
we have our own energy, we have our own food, and we have a ton of nuclear bombs, more than any other country.
They really aren't very good at producing food.
Well, not as good as the Americans, grant you, but they got a ton of land.
And most of that land is not usable.
Yeah, I understand. They're kind of like Canada in that way, but I think they have way more usable land than Canada. But getting back to my point, how are you going to change Russia's mind? I don't think you're going to do it through sanctions, because Russia's been sanctioned to death and it hasn't swayed them.
Yeah, because autocrats don't care when the civilian population is suffering.
Right, so they don't care. So how are you going to change Putin's mind and give back Crimea without fighting, without war?
You can do it through negotiation. You can do it by allowing for Putin to get the fuck out of
For allowing him to
Ukraine.
get out.
And
Okay, I'll be Putin.
then
Okay, I'll be Putin. You be, I don't know, the UN. No, I'm not leaving. Now what are you going to do?
я тебя ненавижу, я бы убил тебя.
I'll chop your little chicken head off. Like, what are you going to do to Putin?
Do you think that it is a good thing for America to curtail to autocratic regimes when they overstep the sovereignty of another nation?
If you're not willing to go into full-fledged war, yes. If you're going to say, if you're going to put your line in the sand that, oh, you're in an autocratic regime, we're never going to curtail to you. Okay, be prepared for World War III.
Okay. But that's not what we have done with Cuba. That's not what we've done with Venezuela. That's not what we've done
Right, because
with North
Venezuela
Korea.
and Cuba are nothing.
Because we have fucking abolished their economy into nothing due to sanctions.
Right, because
due
there's
to
little
cutting off
specks on the map that are not like, they don't have any power economically or militarily. That's why we can just
They
any
have
country,
loads of
any big
natural
country can just run
resources.
over them. But you can't do that with Russia.
Yeah, you can, because Russia's economy is absolutely devastated.
Okay, okay, I'm hearing an option here to force Putin's hand is to destroy them economically.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we've already tried that through sanctions.
Not really. We've tried some sanctions,
Okay,
but
so let
at
me
the end of the
let me assume you're right that we could achieve that. Do you think how much time will that take before they will cry uncle?
before the regime or before the people?
Both, for the people to revolt or
Well,
for the regime to give in. Years, months. Do you think the United States could just decide, and UN can help too, Europe, and just say, okay, we're going to Zero trade with Russia. Zero. Do you think they're going to automatically say, okay, we surrender? Ukraine, you have it all back.
How does your proposed curtailing to autocratic regimes not just lead to bullies winning?
It does. It does lead to bullies
it
winning.
does? Okay. So then why do we, as Americans, complain when China dominates the South China Sea? Why do we complain when any number
Because we don't like
of... Okay. But we're curtailing to them nonetheless, right? We don't like it. Boo, but sure, I guess you can do it.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's nothing you think that we can proactively do to that?
No, there is things we can do, but what I'm saying is that unless you're prepared to go to full-fledged war, or a really long, drawn-out war, like what's been happening for how many years has it been? 2? Since Russia invaded? 2 years at least, right?
2014.
Well, that's the first time, and then they kind of retreated, and then they went back in.
No. They kept on funding paramilitary organizations in Ukraine.
Okay, so how many do you propose the status quo? We just U.S. taxpayers put in another $100 billion every few years, and then maybe the European Union sends in 20,000 troops here and there, and then we just let the war kind of go on for another decade, or is that okay with you?
It won't go on for another decade. It'll stop eventually.
Eventually, but
Putin
how long?
Well, I mean, that's sort of the question for all war, isn't it?
Like, wouldn't it be better for the war to stop sooner, the killing stop sooner rather than later? I think so. So give in to the bully. Let the bully take his little piece of pie.
Not if you're curtailing to autocrats. Not if you're curtailing to dictators.
You have in your mind that this is a value you have, that no matter what, you can't do it, but you're not willing to fight for it. That's the point I'm making.
No one would let me fight for it.
What's that?
No one would let me fight for it.
Well, when I say you, I mean like the U.S. military, the European Union military. Like we both agree we don't want war, like a full-fledged, like the war to escalate. So to me, the only other option, and I'll use your language, is to curtail to the bully. Give the bully what he wants, but at some point.
But again, then the agreement that we make, hey, you can have this chunk of Ukraine, but don't go any further. They can ignore that too because they know. Okay.
Yes.
If we do this with terrorism, the motto, we don't negotiate with terrorists, right?
Yes.
The reason we don't do that is because they're terrorists.
Finally, Nick, you made a good point. It took about half an hour, but now you make a good point. Now, and I agree with it.
There's no guarantee. So
right, there's no guarantee.
Why not just start military operations then? Why not continue funding Ukraine?
Because I actually don't think Ukraine's worth saving.
Gopnik,
on economic terms or on moral ones?
For the cost it takes to defend it, I don't think it's worth defending.
Well, we spend so much on our military. What's another billion?
Gopnik, you're asking the question, like, why are we putting a rule down if we've already demonstrated we would give in with rules? But we haven't. Like, Russia's impeded on Ukraine. They haven't, like, impeded on, like, this one would be like us laying down the law. And if they overstep those bounds, that's a different matter. Right now, like, the Ukraine isn't America. They didn't invade our borders.
Okay. And will they stop at Ukraine?
Well, if the U.S. like figures out these peace negotiations, if they
America's the world
overstep them, then
police
that
for
would
the
be
umpteenth time?
Yeah, unfortunately, we have stepped into Ukraine. I don't think we should have, but right now America has involved itself in the Ukraine border dispute.
So now it is from now on it is personal with us. It wasn't initially.
Border dispute when they invade sovereign territory?
Well, whatever you want to call it.
An invasion?
If
Sure. So we've involved. That's fine. We've involved ourselves with the invasion. Now it involves us. It didn't initially.
Still technically doesn't, but sure, whatever.
I want to ask a basic war question to Gopnik here. If Russia takes full control, let's say over the next couple of years, of all of Ukraine through its military, right now I think they have 25% or something, but let's say it goes up to 100%. Who owns Ukraine at that point?
Russia.
Correct. That's the right answer. So now their sovereign nation is Ukraine. Do you agree? Includes Ukraine. That
no,
the winners of wars, the winner of a territorial war owns that land.
The nation state owns the land. The people don't have sovereignty over that land.
Well, that's what I mean. Ukraine would become part of Russia, like it was during the old Soviet Union.
And before that, it was Kiev and Rus.
But
I don't really care about what it used to be owned as. Do the people there want to be ruled by Russia? I thought we were Americans, that we, the government, are ruled at the behest of the people, not at the behest of dictatorial powers. If the people of Ukraine do not want to be controlled by Russia, then no, they do not have claim to the sovereignty of Ukraine, but they have claim to it through nation states.
What if 51% did want to be controlled by Russia? You then would be okay with it?
I guess I would be more okay with it.
Well, why not fully okay with it? It's the majority.
Well, because I think democracy fails, and I can wonder why. But whatever. I've agreed. I would be more okay with that.
Yeah,
sure.
And I don't even know what the polling numbers are. Like, is there any polling numbers of what the exact percent of Putin supporters are in Ukraine right now? Like pre-war. Let's say pre-war, because I'm sure a lot of people have left. And let's ask Grok.
Okay.
What percentage? What percentage of Ukrainians support Putin? Grok says there's no direct comprehensive polling data, but a Gallup survey from October 23 found that 0% of Ukrainians expressed support for Kremlin, with approval of Russian leadership at 2%. 92% of Ukrainians held a bad attitude towards Russia, with only 2%. Okay, so 92% bad. In December 2024, KIS polls showed that trust in President Zelensky at 52%, down from earlier highs. So even like people are not even liking Zelensky that much anymore.
Sure. But I mean, do you understand my point about even if Russia as a nation state controls the territory of Ukraine, that doesn't mean they have a right to, because the people there don't want to be controlled.
Okay, but
this is the exact policy.
This is why I asked the war question to you. This is why I asked the war question to you. This is going to sound very harsh, but it doesn't matter what the people want when it comes to war.
So we're fine with governments just ruling over the people.
What I'm saying is might is what makes things happen. I'm not even making a moral claim here, but I'm saying unless you're willing to fight and die, if Putin wants Ukraine, and let's say he becomes successful at it, and the vast majority of Ukrainians don't want it, whoop-de-doo. Who cares what they want? If they're being invaded and they lose, then this is why I asked you that question. Who owns that territory now if they lose the war? The Russians do.
Yes.
That's their sovereign nation now.
No, it's not their sovereign nation, because people don't support. No, they have control over that territory.
Whoever has control owns it. Whoever
if
has
only that
control
worked.
owns it.
What the fuck is this? What? Ownership is what? Possession is 9/10 of the law?
When it comes to nation versus nation, yes. If someone comes to your house today with guns and says, this is no longer your house, it's mine, what are you going to do about it? You're going to call the police. You're going to call the FBI.
Pull out my gun.
You're going to, you're going to pull out your gun, but they outgun you. So you're either going to die or you're going to surrender. And guess what? If there's no police or military to help you, that house is no longer yours. But you can say, but I have the deed. I have the deed. Your deed means dilly squat.
Yes, laws. If laws aren't enforced, they don't mean shit. I agree.
And that's the point when it comes to country versus country. You can even try to appeal to international law, but international law means dilly squat unless there's somebody there to enforce it. And who's the enforcer of international law? Big old Uncle Sam. The Americans. EU thinks they have power
when they want to.
When they want to, right?
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, the International Court of Justice doesn't give a shit. The international law, Putin already.
But Gopnik, you made a really great point earlier. The only one you've made so far, and that is that if you appease Putin for a little bit, what's to say he's not going to take more in the future? That was the excellent point you made. And so what the Americans, I think, have to decide is where exactly is that line in the sand, whether it's full out World War III. Is it, okay, we appease the bully, we give them parts of Ukraine, and then 2 years from now, they take all of it. And then 4 years from now, they take Poland. And then 6 years from now, they won't
never take Poland.
Or Germany, or whatever. They just keep on going. I think there does come a point where America says enough is enough. We stop appeasing the bully, and we say either you stop or it's World War III, nukes included. Here we go. But I don't think Ukraine in itself is that line in the sand.
Okay, so where is the line in the sand for you?
I think if they were to take more than Ukraine.
Okay. So why don't you already why because they already control parts of Georgia. They've already invaded Georgia and bombed that country to shit.
Yeah.
Okay. So Georgia and Ukraine, I suppose.
Well, yeah, Georgia was a long time ago.
Still invading a sovereign nation, which is, I think, my point of why it's a bad thing to curtail to autocrats. That when people don't want to be ruled, even by force of a gun, a bullet, whatever it is, that's a bad thing. This is the policy that America has towards Taiwan. We don't agree that Taiwan is Chinese land. Yeah. We sell Taiwan guns.
Gopnik, I'm not exactly sure where my line in the sand would be. Like for me personally, like I'm a guy living in Arizona, so do I even really care about Eastern Europe? Not really. You know, I can try to pretend that I'm a loving and comparing person who really loves all people in the world, kumbaya type moment. But in my everyday practical life, Eastern Europe doesn't affect me.
Yeah, I can understand that.
But as
do you
public
also
policy,
understand why it might affect me a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, where do you live?
I currently can't live in Russia because of reasons, but I'm in America.
You're in America. Okay. So you have more of an emotional bond with this issue than I do. And that's understandable because you're Russian. But I don't know. I would leave that up to, I guess, the politicians on where
politicians supposedly rule at the behest of the people. Right.
And I basically would say, well, I can give my 2 cents. I think Germany should be definitely the line of sand. How much further east of there, I don't know.
Okay. Moldova has a section of disputed land called Transnistria. And in that land, they want to be part of Russia. If Russia invaded Moldova to take control over that land, would that be a line in the sand?
For me, no.
No? Okay. So as long as it's not like an important one.
Yeah, like I think Americans, when it comes to American lives and American taxpayer money, there has to be something more than just a kumbaya feeling to act in that, like to risk World War III.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure, I suppose.
Like I just, like when I ask people to explain to me, why ought I care about Ukraine? And if your answer is something like, well, don't you care about people? Like, come on.
I've given you multiple reasons.
Well,
That
trade was
weak on the world. No, it makes us look weak on the world stage. We lose our allies that we have currently, and we're curtailing to an autocrat.
And when I asked you why is it bad to lose allies, you were stumped.
No, I gave you an answer.
That's
why I brought up trade. That's why I brought up military alliances.
Okay, yeah.
That's why I brought up.
And I said, what did I say to that about trade? That if it
my only point is, let's not pretend I haven't given you answers.
Well, you did give me an answer, and it was the trade one.
And the military one, because we currently have military alliances where we give these allies our military secrets.
But
right?
what I would say...
Right?
Hang on, what?
Is that correct?
Is what correct? I was talking when you were talking, sorry.
That we give military hardware, military access to our secrets to our allies right now.
Well, not the really good stuff. Trust me, we don't give them the good stuff.
Yeah, but those secrets are still secrets for a reason.
They
correct?
think they're getting the good stuff, but they're not.
I don't care if they're getting the good stuff or the 3-year-old shit. They're still getting our military secrets. They're still getting our military hardware. And if we lose power on that level, that is not good for American citizens.
Okay, I agree with you there, but I don't think that's even conceivable for... You're thinking like a country like France will all of a sudden like try to take over the United States? Come on.
I don't think they have to take over America. I just think it is a bad thing when our allies do not know which way the wind will blow in 4 years.
Why? Why is that bad?
Because the consistent
Let them have a sleepless night.
So, no consistency? Isn't that what, like, interpersonal relationships are built on? That I'm going to be a relatively consistent person, but on national scales, no, fuck it, throw it out the window?
Well, what consistency are you talking about? Like, you talking about NATO and the U.S. made a promise to NATO or something?
No, I'm talking about if we are going to have a consistent message on the global scale.
What's this message you speak of?
That we aren't going to curtail to autocrats just because the president wanted to have the wind to change for a little bit. That the
sorry, I don't even know what you're talking about.
There are people that join our military alliances because we are opposed to Russia, right? Sweden, Switzerland, these countries explicitly joined our military alliances because of their fear of Russia and our opposition to Russia. And now our military is going, you know what, we might be friends with the people that are joining us specifically.
Okay, but you got this idea in your head that there's some value to America by them joining us.
Yeah, global security.
Global security. Okay, but we don't need Switzerland for that.
Yeah, but it does stop another war from breaking out, right?
Having Switzerland and France and even the UK on our side, you realize how weak these nations are militarily over the last 50, 100 years?
It still stops war from breaking out.
What stops war from breaking out is the Americans and maybe even the Russians or Chinese, not these little piddly countries.
There is so much more to.
Do you realize how useless Europe is when it comes to military?
But that's not the only thing that matters. Their manufacturing production, their soldiers, their economic power is part of the reason why people don't go to war with us. Because they know that, hey, if that domino falls, then I lose access to so much of the most powerful nations on the planet when it comes to an economic sense. Right?
No.
It's not just about who has the bigger bomb. It is about who has the greater system that can ensure that.
Active military personnel: China 2 million, Russia 1.5 million, India
That's an
1.5
inflated
million,
number.
United States 1.3 million, North Korea 1.2. Europe is not even on the list of top 10. Europe is nothing.
Those are all inflated numbers. But we agree those are inflated numbers, right?
Oh, come on.
Yes, they are inflated numbers.
Okay, they're inflated consistently across the list, and I don't even see Europe. Oh, France shows up in number like 32 with 200,000. Germany 180. You got to get through your thick skull that Europe is nothing militarily.
But again, it's not just about who has the bigger bombs, it's who has the greater economic power.
Okay.
Correct? This isn't just
Want another
about...
list?
Oh my God. What?
I'm just typing in Grok economic economies by size. Like you have this idea that Europe matters, and I'm trying to get it through your head that Europe doesn't. Okay, biggest economies in the world: United States 29.2 trillion, China 18.3. Okay, Germany's third, 4.7. Then Japan, then India, United Kingdom 6.
All of our allies, right?
Not China,
right? Okay, wait, it's Doug. Come on, be a little good faith. Don't. Japan, the UK, Germany, New Zealand, these aren't our allies?
Yeah, Japan is an ally. Germany's an ally. Okay. Yeah.
The UK is our longest ally.
Now listen to this. United States GDP 29.2 trillion. Germany in third place behind China, 4.7. So
okay.
what kind of in relative terms, what kind of power do you think Germany has economically compared to the US and China? Squally. What's where? Nothing. Nothing. Now you could try to combine Germany and Japan.
If you think that's nothing, then there's no point of agreement on this matter.
In fact, we could combine Germany with Japan. We're at 8. With the United Kingdom, now we're at 12. With France, now we're at 15. With Italy, now we're at 17. Canada, we're now at 19. Brazil, we're now at... I mean, there's no economic power there compared to the United States and China. So if we're talking military, Europe is nothing. We're talking about economy, Europe is nothing.
If that is nothing to you, then again, we won't ever disagree
Dilly
on this
squat. That's what I wanted to
issue.
say. Thank you, Dalai Lama. Dilly squat. Europe is dilly squat.
Again, if that is diddly squat to you, then I don't know what else could be said.
Okay, good. That means we're done. Right?
I'm perfectly willing to be done with this topic if you want.
Okay, because we've been talking about it for a while. Does anybody else here want to chime in? Because Gopnik and I have been...
Are there set topics?
We've been bullies. Gopnik is a big bully. He likes to take... He doesn't like to take land, but he likes to take airtime. And I don't want to go to war with Gopnik, so I have appeased the bully, and I have carved out amount of time for Gopnik. See what I'm doing there, Gopnik?
No. Can you be a little bit more explicit? You know how us leftists are.
You
just
are the
incredibly-
Putin of this Discord.
Absolutely.
Who's taking what you want of the airtime.
Absolutely.
But Celestial Links, we're
No, I'm talking now. All right, I'll stop. We have fun.
Yeah. But he left. Whereby's open if anybody wants to call in as well. I don't think the people.
It'd be really funny if I joined the whereby just to hi, Doc.
Yeah. No, I think it bothers people on the left to understand the truth of, I think, what I just said, that if it wasn't for the big brother United States, I mean, Europe should be very scared because it's the United States that protects them. Europe needs the United States way, way more than the United States needs Europe. That's the truth. And the truth will set you free. And this is bared out by the fact that people get so upset at Trump when he says the things he says, does the things he does, because they realize that that's the truth, that they need the United States more than the United States needs them.
Okay.
Hey, don't tell me you called in on Whereby.
No.
Okay, good. You guys probably won't hear this. So you can talk amongst yourselves, or you can watch the YouTube. Hey, Daniel.
Hey, Trader.
Trader?
I'm sorry.
Are you that Canadian who likes hockey?
Just as much as we're obliged to.
Yeah, congratulations, you won.
I told you we'd win.
Yeah, you were right. But it's good. I think Canada needed that. Like, Canada's such a lowly country.
We needed it so bad.
I was teasing my family about that hockey game, and I realized I had to back off because if America would have won and I rubbed it in at all, like, they might have had a meltdown. Great game, though. Great game.
It was a very good game, yeah.
Like, I usually am dead inside, but that game got my blood pressure up.
When it comes to international, definitely gets me going.
Okay, but nobody wants to hear about hockey besides us. Do you have any questions for me?
I wanted to, if either poof me or tell me why I should be on board with Annex Canada. I wanted to give you an opportunity to convince me.
Okay. So I'm now the President of the United States.
But before that, I did want one thing that assuming you do, wouldn't that be bad for your politics because you'd just be inheriting a liberal state, like a very liberal California type of state?
Yeah, when you take over a country, there's always the bad side of bad members of that country. So you're right. But your question was try to convince you why Canada becoming the 51st state might be a good thing for you. Is that what you want me to do?
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, convince me. I guess that would be.
Do you have a job?
Yes.
Do you make over $100,000 a year?
No, but I pay a shit ton of taxes.
Okay. Reason number one, your taxes would probably go down. Is that a good thing? Do I need to go on?
It probably will go down, but isn't like Trump increasing taxes through tariffs?
No.
Oh, you just get, or I guess it increases inflation is technically the term, right?
And that's only true if the people buy the products. Do I have to explain tariffs to you? The tariff is actually paid at the border. And then it's only passed on to the consumer if they put the price of the product high to pay fully for the tariff, and if the stupid American consumer buys that product when they could have bought a lower price product. Tariffs are a bad idea when you don't have substitute products or products that are in low supply.
You make this argument that
so don't believe the left when they say it's a guaranteed inflation tax on the consumer. It's only a tax on the consumer if they buy the product.
Or,
because it's a consumption tax.
Unless there is no alternative.
Yes, and that's what I just said.
I think I looked it up, and in the past time where steel was tariffed, in the last time you attempted it, I'm pretty sure that the prices did go up.
Okay, reason number two.
It was a very small benefit. It was a very short-term benefit. I didn't even really
do
much to the
Daniel,
actual industry itself.
And actually, there's a trans activist who wants on, and I mean, a trans activist is going to be, but don't go anywhere because it could be a troll. So I just want to see if the trans activist is really a trans activist, because I love
run away.
I'll be back with you.
I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing you.
Oh, actually, I can let the trans activist on at the same time. Yeah. Are you there, trans activist?
Yes.
Okay, good. You don't mind if Daniel listens in?
Oh, no, what's his position? I don't want any bigots here.
Okay, I can already tell you're a troll. That's so fast. Anyhow, maybe you're not. What would you like to say?
I have a question for you, Doug.
I recognize your voice.
My question for you is, if you don't believe in God, then how can you tell trans that there's no such thing as trans?
See, what? Daniel, did I call it? I called it after him just saying like few words to you. So, what's your real name? Because I know your voice. You're
Jacob.
Jacob? You're not Jacob. You're Esau.
Jacob's ladder.
You're Esau. Yeah, you're the one God hated. Yeah. So reason number one, your taxes will go down. Reason number two, you get the full force of the U.S. military.
Already do.
Yeah, you already do in a way, but it's not guaranteed.
That's not one. So let's strike that.
You get like a national identity through of the United States. You get to share into that.
Okay, do I lose my national identity? Do I lose my national anthem? Do I lose my flag?
Yeah. You lose it. Yeah, you lose your maple. No, you can keep your maple syrup. You get freer speech. How's that?
Yeah, that one sounds really good.
So you can actually go up to a trans person who you know is a man, but they identify as a woman. You just keep saying he. You're a man. You're a man. You're a male. You're a male, and you can actually, you don't chase them and stalk them, but you can say things like that. And if they cry, they cry, and that's totally okay.
I already do that as much as I'd like to.
Okay. Sounds like you should become an American then.
Why? I haven't heard any reason yet, but I have an open mind.
Oh, reason number three, if you like Disneyland, you get the wife and kids.
We have Canada's Wonderland, which is pretty great.
Wonderland. What is it, a bunch of Tim Hortons donuts and coffee?
I mean, I think back in your day, Wonderland probably wasn't much, but it's gotten better. What province were you from?
Manitoba.
Yeah, I always thought, it makes me think less of you. I always thought you were from Alberta.
You cut me deep.
I know. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I promise. I really am sorry.
But I actually kind of agree with you. Alberta is a much better province than Manitoba. It has Banff, beautiful mountains, Chinooks. It has Calgary and Edmonton, the Edmonton Oilers, Calgary Flames. It has a ton of oil.
And sorry, you're talking about Alberta.
Yeah. No, Manitoba has What does Manitoba have?
I don't really know.
It has Hudson
I
Bay.
don't know anything about. I don't know much about Manitoba or Saskatchewan at all.
It has Hudson's Bay, good fishing resort up there. It has sand dunes. Most people don't know that. In
It is like
Carberry,
like oil dunes. Is that what
no,
you
no,
mean?
like
Or
little sand dunes. It's so bizarre. You're driving. It's just south of number
desert?
1 highway at Carberry. You turn off, you go south a little bit, and there's sand dunes in the middle of a Canadian province. It's really bizarre.
When you say sand dune, I'm thinking like a desert, like dunes.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Like
I don't know that.
very light brown sand. So, but I don't think Canada's ever going to become the 51st state. I don't even think.
I know it's just.
I don't even think.
Rhetoric.
I don't even think Americans want Canada because, other than for its natural resources, but it would be just a pain in the butt to try to get rid of the social insurance system.
You say you want our resources, and then you say you don't need us for trade. Help me square that circle.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's nice to have something, but you don't need it.
But you're willing to make life harder for the sake of.
For who?
I guess that's for you.
No.
I understand. I'll be honest with you. So I think I get a lot of your rhetoric. I get what you think about Trump, and I get the idea of make America first. So I can talk to you on your level of that. I'm not like, America should be for us and stuff like that. I totally get that, but I still don't see how losing sort of like it's like it goes back to my analogy that I tried to bring up last time of Risk, where you're playing a game of Risk, you have allies in that game. You have to. You can't just do it alone. Okay, my main question is actually, do you think that America could take on the world? I phrased it wrong. I meant to ask you, do you think
like war-wise?
Sure. Do you think I meant to ask you, do you think America could take on Canada? Say,
of course.
Yes. And then I ask you, do you think America could take on the world?
I think it'd be close.
Yes, we know.
I think it'd be close.
Yes, we know.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'd say lean no, but it would be close.
The world minus China.
Well, okay. Now you're thinking.
I'm always thinking.
Yeah, now I say lean yes.
Okay. And one other question I wanted to ask was, what do you think about, I thought I heard this concept floating around, but I think it got shut down now because of all this stuff, was the concept of the European Union, but like the North American version of that.
Why do we need that? You said the U.S. version of the European Union between Canada and the United States? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Why do we need that?
Well, it's maybe a more boring question, but wasn't that a thing that was being talked about at one point?
Like, if you're talking about sharing of resources.
Oh, my lead up. The lead up is to the question of like a North American Union versus annex Canada. Those two ideas in competition with each other.
Okay. No, we don't need that. The reason why the European Union exists is to compete against the United States. So all those countries in Europe got together and say, we're crap as individual countries. We're below crap. But if we all...
And because you don't need us,
yeah,
you think that's pointless too. Okay.
Yeah. Now,
you always talk about in terms of need, though. Like there's more to life than just the need. Like you say things like, we don't need Canada's resources, but it would be nice.
Yeah.
So I think most people are not just trying to live on bare necessities. Strategic, don't you think you should think about it from this perspective of what is most strategic? You want to be like here. Let me explain where I'm coming from.
Do it quickly.
Okay. There are bigger enemies than America for Canada, and it doesn't make sense that it bothers me that America is now in our target, in our
should bother you.
scope, because not because you guys are big fat bullies, but because it just means that there's less focus on who I think are who I think is fucking with Canada is what I mean.
And who's that?
Countries that's, well, what countries do you think are messing with Canada other than you?
Japan?
Other than the United States?
China?
No, not China.
Oh, because the Chinese are coming in and buying your real estate?
All that kind of stuff, yeah.
Well, do
So
something about it then.
sense.
Start calling your...
Hey, okay, so, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, start making, like, start talking about it, get people excited about it, and make laws that says no Chinese foreign investment or something like that.
What would it take for you to not love America anymore as much as you do?
What would it take? If America became more like Canada?
Okay, that's no. I
You set me up.
What I was thinking your answer was going to be. Yep.
You know, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to play a clip of something that really resonated with me today, and you can watch it on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for calling in. I think a lot of people hate this guy. He goes way back. He's been a YouTuber for 15 years, I think. And I really don't care about him at all, but he, for some reason, popped up in my suggested videos because I'm now subscribed to him, but I wasn't. And he was explaining, well, let me play it. It's called Sow the Wind, Reap the Whirlwind. Let me give him a like. Sargon of Akkad.
I would just record a slight stream of consciousness here because it's become very apparent that the left simply does not understand what is happening at the moment, right? Why the right is acting in the way that the right is acting. They don't know why things seem to be going so far off of the rails, and it's actually kind of strange and beautiful to watch. Not what is actually happening. I actually don't think that the Republicans and some of the more sort of hard edge of the MAGA movement should go quite as far as they're going at the moment with the positions that they're taking and some of the things that they are doing. I actually don't think that's terribly useful in the long run. And I can see many people on the left who are just recoiling in horror at what's happening. What has Steve Bannon done just now? What has Trump just said about Zelensky just now? What is Elon tweeting about Zelensky just now? Like, what are they doing to these various constituencies that we care about? What is going on? And the answer is these people have become untethered from your moral system entirely, right? They have arrived at the point where they are saying, we do not care about your moral judgments. And I can tell you why this has happened, right?
He's exactly right. I don't think the left has figured that out yet. Well, maybe they have. Some definitely have. But a lot of them still think that their moral judgments mean something. Like I think of like Nathan from Digital Gnosis. I think part of him still believes that when he calls Trump fascist or me a bigot or whatever, that actually has some impact or power or it means something. Now, if you are weak mentally and emotionally, then those types of words does impact you. But if you're a stable human being and some stranger on the internet or even an acquaintance on the internet says these words, it's vapid. And the left hasn't figured out that their words are useless.
For years, the left has refused to engage with their opponents. It's literally this simple. You can find a million mainstream left-wing centrist, but actually incredibly left-wing, agrees with the radical communists on everything, right? Everything is gay race communism to the left, all of it, right? From like the Rory Stewarts, who would consider themselves like, centrist dads, to the Ash Sarkar literal revolutionaries who are literally communists, right? The entire spectrum at this point is radical left. And the entire spectrum of the left has decreed it can never actually speak to the right. And
yeah, I think that's very true. Like if I were to go on certain channels, like I'm thinking of The Line, and misgender someone on purpose, because definitionally I view them as not what they portray themselves to be, I'd be booted. I'm very curious to see if I should try that, see if it's true. By the way, I ran an experiment today. A friend of mine misgendered a trans person and was booted out of Discord. Then, that was a while back, and then I told this friend to purposely misgender me. And it wasn't clear that to the moderator that maybe we're friends. But purposely misgender me. And it happened today. This person misgendered me on purpose. And this person wasn't booted. So you're only booted if you misgender a trans person because they're fragile. We got to protect them. They're like endangered species. You got to hold them in your arms and put drops of milk in their mouth and caress their hair. But if you misgender a cis person on purpose, then you're fine.
And so you've got podcast after podcast, TV show after TV show, newspaper column after newspaper column, just condemning the right without ever engaging with them. And just saying, you're bad people, you're bad people, you're bad people. We'll never listen to your opinion. We'll never have you in the room while we're calling you bad people. We will never have you explain yourself in a charitable and honest way. So we will try and understand your perspective because we're too busy calling you bad people. And the right has got to the point where they're just saying, okay, we do not care anymore. We are not looking for your approval now because it's become apparent that such a thing will never come. We cannot have some sort of discourse and dialogue where we have an understanding of each other's concerns and we try to work towards a mutually agreed solution. That is just off the table now, right? What's happening is that Trump, Bannon, Elon, the rest, they're just here to crush you. They're going to just crush you. They've decided that you are not worth having in their civilization anymore as a political force. That's why they're defunding everything that you've done.
Yes.
All of the left-wing apparatus that was used to prop up this one-sided...
Actually, if you're dependent on the government in any way, shape, or form, well, everybody's dependent on the government to some degree. But I'm saying if you're really dependent on the government in some way, you ought to be scared. You really ought to be scared. You ought to make friendships with people around you that when times get tough that you can rely on money-wise. Because there's a chance the government's not going to be there for you anymore. The goal in life is to become independent of the government so you don't even care what the government does, for the most part. Of course, you want strong borders, the military, that sort of thing. But this is why the left is terrified over Trump and Elon, because they see, oh, now they're cutting all these programs. But I need them. I need my milk. Why don't you try getting it from the private sector? Either through charity or through getting a job.
Propaganda industrial complex is going. They're going to ruin it all for you. And they're going to do it because you would not sit down and take them seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You would not sit down and give them the respect that, frankly, they deserved to have. And you're still not doing it. I'm still seeing shitlib podcast after shitlib podcast that just sounds like the most full-throated YouTube communist revolutionary. And I'm like, okay, so they've learned nothing. They have modulated themselves in no way. They haven't reconsidered any of their positions. And they refuse to move from the most radical left-wing perspective to even just slightly budge towards the center, even though this is all good stuff that is being done. Right? Elon is saving the taxpayer an unbelievable amount of money, and that will translate into people paying less tax. That's good for them.
Yeah, I agree with him, but that's not how the left sees it. They say, no, higher taxes are great, especially for billionaires and millionaires. We need to tax them so we can suck on their teat and get their milk. Ooh, that doesn't sound good.
Anyone on the left should be able to say, yeah, okay, I understand. I wanted massive amounts of wealth redistribution because I think I can save the world through welfare, but I also can at least understand why you would do that. And for some reason, instead, all we get is this constant cacophony of everyone's this, everyone's that, everyone's a Nazi, everyone's a fascist, everyone's evil, everyone's bad, everyone's a racist, everyone's this, everyone's that. And now you've got Steve Bannon throwing up Roman salutes just in front of an entire crowd and not caring. Like, Elon did it, he was autistic. Calvin didn't, he was trolling. But I don't know if Steve Bannon is trolling. I think he's just like, fuck you. And you made him happen. You made him come to this point. You need to start sitting down and having an actual discussion with people. This name-calling, slander politics has to come to an end. And if it doesn't come to an end, don't be surprised when they show you no mercy.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Elon Musk did it because he's autistic or if he was purposely trolling, but it sounds like Steve Bannon was purposely trolling. People on the left, you have to understand that we don't care about you, and it's gotten to the point where we're willing, I mean, not personally to do the salute, but people like Steve Bannon and Elon Musk, let's say, are willing to cause you great mental anguish through simple things like a Nazi salute and have you just break down with fear and trembling. It brings a lot of people joy to see you in that type of mental turmoil. So you got a couple of choices. You can't control the world around you, but you can maybe control yourself and get stronger and say, oh, okay, maybe I don't take it so bad. Like, maybe I'll wait to see if they round me up and put me in a gas chamber first. Like, if you're that easily triggered, maybe you need to reflect inwards and become stronger. But maybe it's not possible for you to be stronger. I don't know. Maybe you're just a weaker member of society, and it's best that you just stay in your home and we feed and clothe you through food stamps and welfare, and you stay out of the productive people's way.
See, don't be surprised at all when literally you're just like, look, please don't defund this, and they're like, no, that's already gone. What are you talking about? We defunded that before I walked in the room. That's gone. Don't lock that person up. No, we've decided this person's a criminal and we're locking them up. Oh, well, but I mean, can we have a reasonable discussion about this? And they will laugh in your face. They were like, no, you sowed the fucking wind. You are going to reap the whirlwind. You are getting this as hard and as deep and as fast as we can make it. And we are going to make these cuts last forever. You are going to be forever scarred by the damage they're going to do to you. And you've done this to yourselves. This is your own fault. None of this would be happening. Trump, do you not notice how almost every one of your most powerful arch enemies, the people who want you destroyed and are currently in the process of tearing down everything you've built since the Obama administration, does it not make you weirded out that every single one of them is an ex-Democrat?
Well, I don't know if every single one of them, but he's talking about people like Elon Musk, used to be a Democrat. Donald Trump used to be a Democrat. Joe Rogan, he used to lean left, maybe still does. No, I don't think he does. I think he leans right now. Your own side is fleeing, becoming right-leaning or Republican, and giving it to you, and don't even care about you anymore.
Every single one used to be on your side, and now they loathe you with the fury of 1,000 suns, and now they are going to scorch you out of existence. They are going to destroy the woke mind virus, and they're going to enjoy doing
Kennedy.
it. They're
RFK.
literally going to burn you down because you couldn't be reasonable. And it's like you still don't understand this. And it's just frustrating, to be honest. It's just really frustrating how you are unable to have a reasonable conversation with anyone.
Yeah, like, why is it so difficult for some people to just say, okay, you're a left-wing Democrat. Yeah, my opinion, Doug, is January 6th was horrible, terrible, a threat to democracy, and Trump shouldn't ever be qualified to run for president. And then you have a conversation with a person like me who says, yeah, I agree, it was a bad thing. Trump should never have done that, but I value immigration, foreign policy, and critical theory more, and I don't think it's ever going to repeat itself, so I'm willing to compromise and vote for Trump. And then you just say, okay, I understand that. Thanks for the conversation. Like, so many left-leaning people, they do not possess the ability just to let that go. But if you truly were honest and sincere and you value truth, then you would do what I do. No, that's not true. I have different values than you. My concern for these things, but he's a fascist, and how dare you? I just can't understand that you would ever. Like, I've had so many conversations like this where the left just goes insane if you don't agree with them. You got to stop that, left-leaning people. You got to start becoming like an adult. Just realize that people have different values and have disagreements. But if they only knew what I knew, then they would think and act like me. No, that's wrong. People can see the exact same thing and come up with different conclusions, different actions because of it. Tulsi Gabbard, yes. Elon Musk used to be Democrat. Donald Trump used to be Democrat. Robert Kennedy Jr. I don't even know. Does he consider himself a Democrat still? But he's definitely leaning with the right. Tulsi Gabbard. Your own side is fleeing and demolishing you because you're wacko crazy. Because you can't contain your own emotions. Because you're so scared about, oh, they're going to kill me. In order for people to actually want to kill you, they got to care about you. I know this sounds really harsh, but most people are not even worth killing.
Like, literally, you are such... I mean, you are genuinely controlled by a woke mind virus, right? They're not wrong when they make that assessment. And everyone can see it. Every single one can see it. And I know, like, you've got this impulse and you're like, God, I need to call them a racist. No, they're all going home. They're all going home. Do you understand? They're going home. It doesn't matter how much you say the magic word, racist, doesn't matter. They're going home. You can screech the word racist into the void forever. They are going home. Ask why. Ask why. Ask why you can't have a discussion about that. Ask if there can be any concord. Ask something, or watch your entire project get vaporized by people who think that they are on a crusade. Literal crusader crosses on. They are coming to wipe you out. Can you be reasoned with in any way, shape, or form? Can you be brought to understand that you are in fact in this way the architects of your own demise? Or will it literally be that in 200 years' time, there is a historical note in the history textbooks? There was something called the woke movement. You may have heard of them. They were much like the Cathars or the Bogomils or some other, the Platonic, Pythagoreans or something like this. Like a weird religious sect took over this city, like the Anabaptist of Munster or something. And what happened? Well, there was a crusade against them. They got wiped out. And that was the end of that. And that's why there are no more of these people around. And everyone was like, okay, well, that was really crazy. Look at the crazy things they believed. And believe me, when you're...
Yeah, remember the phrase, Doug, you don't want to be on the wrong side of history, do you? I think Sargon is right here. We're going to look back and say, I mean, what were we thinking? These people were nuts and crazy. They're the ones who were on the wrong side of history.
When your beliefs are represented in history books, you're going to look fucking bonkers. Genuinely mad. You're going to look like modern lobotomists. Like, you are going to look insane in the history books. Do you understand? And just at no point, it doesn't have to be a scorched earth campaign that is waged against you. You just have to admit you were wrong about a bunch of stuff. That's all you have to do. You just have to go, maybe we've gone too far on that. Maybe we're not correct on that. Maybe there's a reason that the Democratic...
Yeah, so if you're left-leaning progressive listening right now or in the replay, say, yeah, we probably shouldn't have let all those people into the country at a non-port of entry and just allowed them to scream asylum and then let them stay in. No, we probably shouldn't have done that. No, we probably shouldn't have allowed men with penises change with women and force people because we didn't want to hurt their feelings to compete against women to enter their spaces. No, we probably shouldn't have allowed that. We should probably not even support European nations who don't like certain political parties just because they are mean and they say the wrong things, like the AfD in Germany.
Rousseauian general will has revealed to us through the ballot box, because surely this is what you must believe, that in fact we were wrong. And that was our particular wills that was informing our really nonsense policies. And so maybe we should do some sort of introspection. Maybe we can admit that it was us and not everyone else. But I know that you won't do that. I know that if a single left-winger watched this video, and please do let me know if you do, I know you will admit nothing. I know you will say, like Jeremy Corbyn, we may have lost the election, but we won the argument, as your movement is scoured from existence by furious ex-Democrats who are just so tired of hearing of you and anything you do, and just have understood that a drop of leftism is poison now, and so it all has to go. And that's, I agree with them, to be honest. I think a single drop of leftism is poison at this point. Again, all of it could have been talked out. You could have made reasonable concessions. Could have said, yep, we understand that you think that is too far. And therefore, because we respect you as our fellow countrymen, we won't do that. And the right would have said, okay, fair enough. Well, we understand that you think that's too far. So because we respect you, we won't do that either. We would like some other concessions, and you would say, well, we want some concessions on this, and that's fine, and we would negotiate. We would have a discussion about it. We would understand the fundamental legitimacy of each other's position, and we would say, right, well, we'll come to a compromise to make sure that everything works well and make sure everything happens as it ought. But I know you can't do that. I know you won't do that. And so I'm just letting you know you are heading for oblivion, and everyone will cheer when you are gone.
Yeah. They'll cheer when you're gone. I don't think they're heading for oblivion. They're already there. The left has no leverage, no power, no say, irrelevant, still not changing, and therefore still viewed as crazy. There's no, actually, I've been wondering, like, is it even worth even talking to progressives anymore? Like, if a progressive wants to call in right now, I'm under no compunction to even listen to them. Why ought I? They didn't listen to me when I tried calling in. Why ought I listen to them? Someone tell me. Someone said I should watch the one prior to this. On Farage. Actually, I want to listen to Megyn Kelly for a little bit. See if this is interesting.
Love you. Appreciate it, guys. Gosh, you guys have been out there all day. God, this is amazing. I have to tell you, especially now that I do my own show in my own studio, I don't get out enough. And it's wonderful to actually get out there and see the people and actually glad hand with people who watch the show.
Political Action Committee.
It can be like a little heady because you're like people at an event like this, they come over, they say the nicest things. And you can almost be in danger of getting a little too drunk on your own wine. Like, wow. Oh God. I think you meant JD Vance. I think that's what you're, JD, he's 48.
You think that hair is real?
Yeah, 49. So you can start to get a little drunk on your own wine. However, the good thing is God is always there to balance things out for you. God or my mom. And bring it down a peg when you need it. And this reminds me of the inauguration just last month. I went with so many great people they were loving Trump. They were loving just the rebirth of our nation. And this one guy came over to me and he was so excited to see me. And he was like, oh my God, I can't believe it's you. Can I please have a picture with you? I'm like, oh, of course, I'd be happy to. Took a selfie. He's like, I'm sending this to my mom. She's never going to believe this. I'm like, oh, I think I'm a pretty big deal. I'm like really making an impression on this man. And he walks away and we hear him say, I can't believe I just met Carrie Underwood.
Really?
So, thank you, God. I appreciate that. It's important to remember who you are and who you definitely are not. But it was kind of a compliment either way. Anyway, speaking of big names that you definitely will know, have you heard about what's happening with the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni case? All right, I'm just going to walk because I actually had all that. Can you hear me okay like this? Okay. Okay. Are you obsessed with this case? All right, there are millions of people who are obsessed with this case. I'm going to give you a little background on it, and then you will be obsessed with it. And I'll tell you, there's a reason why conservatives in particular are following this so closely. It makes sense to me. All right, so you know who Blake Lively is, right?
Yeah, she's
Most
pretty.
people know her. Yeah, see, the people who are booing, they know. Then there's this guy, Justin Baldoni, who's not as well known. And see, they've been following the story. So he optioned this book called It Ends With Us, and it's about domestic violence. And he managed to get Blake Lively to star in his movie, Across From Him. He played the abusive guy, and she played the woman. And this is the thrill of a lifetime for this guy. He had done another TV project, but nobody knows who he is. So he gets Blake Lively. She's married to Ryan Reynolds. These are Hollywood A-listers. He's going to put him on the map. And she agrees to be his female co-star. Great, they're off to the races. Well, shortly into production, Blake Lively is very dissatisfied with virtually everything around her and decides to allege that Justin Baldoni, forgive me, very effeminate, evolved, modern feminist man bun kind of guy, is like this virulent sexual harasser who can't stop harassing one of the biggest stars in Hollywood in front of everybody on the set. I've got questions. I'm not sure why he would do that, whether he'd have the guts to do that, or whether the man bun is the most likely harasser in general. But you never know. Sometimes the ones who kind of bend over backward to be as woke as possible are the most, so okay, I'm open-minded about it. This is going someplace. Would you trust me? I'll get us there. So she says he's been harassing her, and they bring in some team, and he says, whatever you want, I will do it or not do it. You tell me. So they go forward.
Bacon, Sarni says, I have no idea any of these names are. Well, you know Deadpool, right? The great Canadian treasure, Ryan Reynolds. He's from, I think, British Columbia. He was in Deadpool. He's in a lot of Netflix movies. What else is he known for? A movie Red or something? His wife, very attractive young woman, and gets this movie role. And now his wife accuses the director and the lead actor of sexual misconduct. Well,
we move forward in the story, and she's got to go do PR for the film. And she goes out in this past summer, and she had about 2 minutes of bad PR. The problem for Blake Lively, in my opinion, is that she does not improve upon acquaintance. And so the more time we got to spend with Blake Lively, the less we liked her, the more her promotional efforts for a film about domestic violence felt off. She was full of giggles and laughter and wanted to promote her liquor brand. Nothing says domestic violence, like a bottle of tequila. What? So it felt weird, and she started to get hit by some of the media for being insensitive. Then this one reporter re-upped a video in which she interviewed a then 8-month pregnant Blake, and kicked off the interview as you would do as a journalist if there's something obviously different about somebody physically by saying, "Oh, you have such a cute baby bump." And Blake was taken aback, even though it was obvious, and said, "Oh, so do you." The reporter was not pregnant. It was a nasty jibe at her for no reason. So normal people at home who don't care about this woman at all are looking at her like, I don't like her. She seems like a bully. She seems like somebody who punches down.
She seems like Putin.
Somebody's only trying to do something nice for her. So negative press swirled around her during this whole, like a month, right? Later, she would describe this as though it was the pile-on against Trump. Honestly, it's like, most of us, especially in Republican politics or the news, this is called Tuesday for us. It's like, grow up. You're in the public eye. You've got probably hundreds of millions thanks to your husband. Just shut up. No one cares that you got a couple of bad articles about you in the Daily Mail. She winds up suing Justin Baldoni. She files a complaint with the Human Rights Commission out in California saying he sexual harassed me and then he retaliated me by pushing all this bad press about me.
Believe all women.
He was behind it because I found his agent, his PR agent's nasty text saying, we can ruin her. If we have to ruin her, we will. And those texts do exist. And Blake Lively went to the New York Times, and the New York Times wrote this sympathetic, poor Blake Lively story. Oh, we were all wrong about her and her weird PR. She's actually a good person and a Me Too victim. And then Justin Baldoni did something very smart. He hired the lawyer who represented me in my fight with NBC News, which ended well. His name is Brian Friedman, and he's a legal genius. Highly recommend if you ever, God forbid. And Brian Friedman knows how to fight back against a bully. Trust me. And he started telling everybody Justin Baldoni's side. He told us that Justin Baldoni denied those claims of sexual harassment and only tried to appease Blake Lively because she was such a high-maintenance diva bully brat. He had to bend over backwards just to get her to shut up and complete the film. He told us that Justin Baldoni claims she tried to take over his movie because she has a history of saying, okay, I'll be the star, but what I secretly want to do is direct it and edit it and produce it. I want all the roles for me and only me. I want full control because I am a controlling bully. That Justin Baldoni, ultimately, by the time they got to the premiere, was mandated by Blake Lively to spend the night in the basement away from his co-stars and didn't even get to see the final cut of his own movie because Blake Lively insisted that she be the one to approve it until he watched it on the screen with his editors, who also hadn't seen it because her editors finished it up. That's the situation he says he was in. So it's a real he said, she said. Who's telling the truth? Is he some creep harasser who took a shot at somebody like Blake, jeopardizing his movie and his future career? Or is she just extremely high maintenance and someone who plays the victim when she doesn't get her way? Well, I've got my opinion, and I think you can guess what it is based on our little discussion here. The other thing is Brian Friedman produced text messages between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. So we don't have to take his side's word for it. And what they showed is that Blake Lively has got a bit of a God complex. She's texting Justin Baldoni about how she sees herself as Khaleesi from Game of Thrones, mother of dragons. Did you watch that? You know what I'm talking about?
I want to see how she's going to tie this into how left gaslighting in America relates to Blake Lively. Maybe we'll fast forward a bit.
X-rated. It's a PG photo. You can't see anything at all. It's like artistic. It made me wish I had a water birth. And had to defend himself against criminal charges. Yes, boo, he deserves it. So Daniel Penny got bullied by Alvin Bragg and the media, which did not stand up for him either. There was Nick Sandmann. Remember him? I love how you guys know these names. You're my people. Nick Sandmann goes out there in front of the Supreme Court to stand up for life, and CNN portrays him as this villain, as this smirking, crappy, arrogant villain. Look at him, and he's sneering at a Native American who's just there minding his own business. Totally the opposite. Totally opposite. Nick Sandmann was standing there respectfully while he was being antagonized by the Native American who was dancing aggressively in his face and getting up on him and mocking him.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Some young kid was demonized as being some type of racist or something, and it was the media portrayed this young white kid as being an evil racist when really it was just the opposite.
That's why CNN had to pay him in a defamation case. That was settled. Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse tried to do what the Biden administration would not, and go to Wisconsin and actually protect the neighboring town. It did not go well. He wound up shooting 3 guys. He was acquitted on all charges ultimately. But before we knew much at all about that case, Joe Biden got out there as he was running for president. This happened prior to Biden taking over. As he was running for president, and called Kyle Rittenhouse a white supremacist. There was zero evidence of this. The kid was 18 years old. He's got the possible next, at that point possible, ultimately yes, president of the United States telling everyone he's a white supremacist, something for which he never apologized, Joe Biden. There was no evidence of that, none. So the left...
I actually think the left believes in white supremacy way, way, way more than the right does.
...likes to bully people who are weak. He's a kid. Now he's on trial for triple homicide in one case, and you think it's a great time to pile on him publicly as the possible next president? There's something wrong with that. Something's off about a guy in a party that does it and supports it.
And don't forget, Joe Biden, he was at some black university, and he made the comment that white supremacy is the biggest threat to America.
And so the bully nature of the left has been on full display, as has its controlling nature. They want to tell us what we can eat. They want to tell us what we can drink. They want to tell us how fast the water can come out of our showers, what we can drive, what we can put in the tank, what we can turn on our stove with. I mean, it's over the top. What we can...
Sounds a little like fascism.
Think, what we can feel, where we can pray, what we have to put in our arms, what we have to put in our children's arms, our babies' arms. It's a lot. They seem to be really drunk on their power. And we have to encounter this at every turn. And then we see that same camel's nose thing. Under the tent, you give them a little, and then they start exploiting it and taking it too far. May I remind you of a little thing called USAID? Right?
But they're doing great work.
There's a poll. I actually, you guys are going to talk to Caroline Levitt in a bit. I interviewed her for my show today. And we were talking about the CNN poll. It shows Trump's approval numbers, they fell a little, a couple points since he took office, because he's doing things that the left may or may not like. And his numbers were kind of down on the closure of USAID. Okay, well, let's look at the crosstab. How did they ask it? It was like, do you support Trump's decision to close the agency that is helping those suffering abroad in humanitarian crises? Right? Like, would you like the children to die as a result of what Trump did? Yes or no? It doesn't say, do you support helping African people prevent HIV/AIDS? Virtually every American would say, yes, we can spend some money on that. Yes, we do. And also, then we will take that money and we will divert it for trans operas in Colombia. Who the hell said yes to that? We literally spent $70,000 on...
This is what you say to people who say, you know, we need to have USAID. We need to have it. Just say to them, well, let's get rid of it. And then if you really feel strongly that these certain things should be funded, then start a fund. You do it. That shuts them up pretty quickly.
On DEI dance in Ireland. They already have Riverdance. I stole that from the Ruthless fellas. But it's ridiculous. It's too much. It's overreach. And then, inevitably, when you call them out on the nonsense, right, when you send Elon in there with Doge and the Doge tech guys and they start kicking the tires, they play the victim, just like Blake Lively. How dare you? I am subjected to all these stories, right? You're subjected to the stories because you did something wrong, and that's the way the media and the world works, and because you deserve it. So we're tired of their games. The games are outdated, the tactics are outdated, they're old and they're tired. And speaking of the Associated Press, the media. The media's days of pretending they are holier than thou are over.
Yep.
President Trump Kick them out, not of the White House, not of the White House press briefing room, but kick them out of the Oval and out of the Air Force One seat they had because they refused to call it Gulf of America. Now, this is interesting because AP is an American company. They say we have to do it because we report.
What would be the reason to refuse to call it Gulf of America? Feel sorry for them. You know, Mexico is, they're people of color. They're weak. They're not as strong as America. We need to feel sorry for them. Please, we need to give them that. Let them keep that name. Even though, didn't they have to change the name of the syrup from Aunt Jemima because they thought it was racist? And the name of the sports team because they thought it was racist? They're okay with changing names. But if you change a name that goes maybe in favor to the people in power, then that's bad. We've got to protect the little guy. Because, you know, Native Americans are little guys, and women are little guys, and black people are little guys. We've got to feel sorry for them. They're marginalized.
International countries. The people of Ghana are going to be upset if you start reporting on it as, you know, folks in Somalia are really going to get upset. You're an American company. You're incorporated here. You're headquartered in New York. This is a stick in the eye of the president and nothing more. It's obvious. Trump knows it, and so do we. And the thing about the AP is they love word changes, name changes. They live for this crap.
Yes.
Just as soon as they were told they have to call girls who transition to boys, they did it. Boys who transition to girls, they did it. They went with the pronouns, the whole thing. You can't even read an AP story about some trans thing without leaving utterly confused. Now there's no more somebody born male or somebody born female. It's assigned male at birth, assigned female at birth, like it was a sin committed by the doctor, and it's
assigned male at birth, assigned female at birth. What about the gender reveal parties like months before birth? I guess that's assigned too.
Still is very ambiguous. They love that name change. They did it right away. Illegal immigrants, we don't have those anymore if you read the AP. They got rid of that term. It's too offensive. Now you have to say undocumented immigrant. What does that mean? An illegal immigrant makes sense to everybody. Now undocumented, that's what. They got rid of the term crisis at the southern border when Joe Biden was president. Could no longer say crisis. As soon as the numbers hit 100,000 a month, the word crisis kept appearing. Not in the AP, we don't do that. That's not okay. Even though Jay Johnson, Obama's Homeland Security Secretary, said it's a crisis if you have 30,000 in a month. This time under Biden, it was 100,000. AP gets rid of the word crisis and didn't bring it back even when we had 300,000 crossing a month. Forgot that word. They won't say terrorist when they're talking about Islamic terrorists. All of these word changes they're totally in favor of, but Gulf of America is a bridge too far. So look, I'll leave you with this. Blake Lively had a point on one thing. Her time as the Hollywood it girl. The days of the left bullying and controlling us without much pushback. The days of the media pretending to be objective and independent and demanding to be left be owned. It really does end with us. And not a moment too soon. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for being here. God bless you.
It's over. And by the way, at the end, she says, God bless you. If you're an atheist and that bothers you, take the stick out of your butt, please. Maybe I need to take my stick out of my butt for caring about atheists who get offended. But yeah. A pretty good speech there by Megyn off the top of her head. She's very, very talented. April Cox, you don't want to call in? What's this person's chromosomes? I need verification. Looks manly to you. Megyn Fox? Megyn Fox. Megyn Kelly looks manly to you? I can sort of see that. Like the jawline, you mean? But you know what, April Cox? If Megyn Kelly, if there was any question, and if she wanted to compete against women in sports or go into change rooms, and if cis women felt uncomfortable and really wanted to know, there would be a way to find out for sure if she's a man or a woman, right? Just like we could do for you. Yeah, we could find out for sure. I love it when, remember Imane Khalif? Oh yeah, let's get into this. When people were saying, how dare you say Imane Khalif is trans or not a woman? For those of you who don't know. There's Imane Khalif. Okay, so I'm going to make a claim. My claim is Imane Khalif is a man, meaning male. And I'm not going to change my mind unless I see a uterus, ovaries, no penis, no testicles, and and chromosomes. So I'm willing to make Imane Khalif sad by making the claim that Imane Khalif is male and pretending to be female. That's what a trans person is. It's when you're male and you pretend to be female, or when you're female and you pretend to be male. That's what the word trans means. It comes from the chemistry, like across. So that's my claim. Imane Khalif is male. And if you want to change my mind, show me the uterus, show me the ovaries, and show me the XY chromosomes. Until then, I will... Don't give me the birth certificate thing. That's just assigned at birth. Don't give me that she was raised to be a girl. Don't give me that. There's many trans people raised the wrong way. Hey.
Yo.
My liberal friend. How are you doing?
Doing well. I've got some thoughts for you if you want.
Sure. Hit me with your thoughts. Hit me with your best thought.
Was it fire away? I can't say.
How long have you been watching?
Oh, just barely. I saw Megyn Kelly, I think it was, talking about the movie This Ends With Us.
Yep.
I have thoughts on that, but I have other thoughts. What do you want? Thoughts on that or the other thoughts?
The most exciting thoughts. Probably not the movie thoughts. That's kind of boring.
I think they're using you, Doug. But let me explain why.
Who's using me?
Okay. Everyone who throws out the whole woke, because the way you get people active is to get them mad, right? Like if you get someone mad, they'll do something. Like people vote because they get mad. No one votes because they're happy.
You think I'm mad when I vote? No.
Well, I think you feel something. They got you to feel something.
I do feel something when little girls are raped. I feel something.
That's horrible.
Yeah. So I don't apologize that. I feel something for when women are forced to change in front of men and they don't want to.
Well, I agree. I totally feel something too.
Yeah. And when I say men, I mean people with penises and testicles.
Well, I think
you agree with me there?
I think people should feel safe and secure in their surroundings. I do agree with that. But I think we can't offer total security at all times. I mean, don't you ever remember, Doug, being in high school, not wanting to change around the other boys at times?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think no one should ever be made to feel like they're in danger in a public space.
Okay, so you support telling a trans person to get lost from a woman's change room?
I think this is will you
Come on, it's an easy softball question. All you have to do is say yes.
Well, the problem is I don't feel really good in a lot of changing rooms. I think there should be personal spaces in changing rooms. I think that's the best solution.
Okay, but if a woman says, I don't feel comfortable with a dong hanging in front of her, but she is comfortable with breasts hanging in front of her with no dong, do you support that woman's right for a policy decision to say, hey, I don't care what you identify as. You got a dong. I don't like seeing the dong. Get the dong out of here. Do you support that?
I support her going to a business and establishment that has rules that they have put in place that others have joined on with, and then they follow those rules.
What about nationally? What about a federal law?
I do not think federal laws should be dictating to business. Excuse me. I ate something, so sorry if I'm coughing right there.
That's all right.
I do not think businesses should have laws dictated to them by the federal government. In this regard.
No, I'm not just talking about business. I'm talking about in all spheres of society.
Well, no, if you go to, let's say you go to a gym. I think that gym can make rules that if you are a member of that gym, you have to follow.
How about a public high school gym?
I think there should be individual changing rooms for people who want individual changing rooms. And
okay,
go ahead.
This is a softball again. And this is why the left is losing big, because people like you just can't come out and say it. Public high school gym. Do you support these high school girls and a trans woman comes in, a male comes in and says, don't worry, I'm a woman. I identify as a woman. They getting up and saying, get the heck out of here. And not only that, do you support the federal government saying no federal funds for you if you allow this?
Okay, I'm going to answer the question, but then I want to throw one at you, okay?
Okay.
I think we should have individual changing rooms for people who do not want to change in public spaces. So I do not think the federal government should be dictating to states what they're doing like they're trying to do to Maine. So I do not support the federal government doing that. But do you support people of the same sex, considering people can be attracted to people of the same sex, such that it could be that there are people in that changing room who find the same sex attractive? So now how should I feel? And I'm not saying I would feel bad, but think about this. So now don't we need more changing rooms by your
It's a good question, and I'll answer it. It's a good question. The main difference that I see is penetration.
Pretty sure anyone can penetrate anybody.
Well, I guess, yeah, we mean with an object, a foreign object?
Men can, I'm just saying.
Okay, this is getting, we're getting kind of
gross
right now, but
anybody could abuse anybody.
Why do you think, okay, what's the best way to word this without being gross? 95% of all sexual penetrations is done by which sex?
Probably those with a phallus.
Yes. So,
and also, but I want to throw a follow-up on that. Most of the abuse, is it done by strangers or family members?
Family members and friends of family. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. But so I think I've answered your question that if we're playing the odds, because you brought up the homosexuals in the change room, if we're playing the odds, I think the woman her uncomfortableness is still justified, more so with the woman with a penis versus the woman without a penis. Because the woman with the penis, usually the penis comes with testicles, testicles come with testosterone comes with more sexual aggression.
Well, then let's go with your playing the odds. If you take a trans male and now put them in a different changing room, wouldn't then this cause them lots of danger and harm?
Yes. But I would say that the danger, if we're going that way with trying to lower net harm, I think then since there's way fewer trans people, then you side with the cis people.
To me, and
that's a good argument.
I'm willing to answer your questions. I hope that's kind of.
Well, that wasn't a question. That was basically a statement that if we're worried, if we want to lower net harm in a society, then you're using probabilities. You're better off excluding the trans people and then allowing the trans person in with the women.
I've actually spoken to, and I'm only, so if any person who's trans hears this, I'm only relaying what I've heard. And what they've told me is a lot of times they just want to get in and get out and not be seen, not be looked at. Like they want to not be causing a scene. Excuse me.
Sure, that could be true. But yeah. The fact that you just can't say a man walking in with his dong hanging out in a woman's change room and having society say, no, you cannot ask them to leave because they identify as a woman. To me, that's nuts.
Doug, you've been in changing rooms. Who's usually the men hanging out with their dongs in the changing rooms? You know who it usually is? It's the old guys. Like I'm saying, like I've been in a few, and there's just like you know what I mean? So I think when it comes to changing rooms, if people want privacy, they should be using.
Why not just make a rule that says if you have a penis, you can't go in a woman's change room?
I think.
What's wrong with that?
I think the problem is with people like Blair White.
She probably agrees with me.
I don't know her opinion, and I'm
quite sure she agrees with me. She'd say, yeah, I support that. Make a rule. If you have a dong, you can't go into a woman's change room.
Okay, so Buck Angel is going to the women's room now, right?
Yes.
Okay, Buck Angel's in the women's room with a beard and quite strong, I think the problem is, Doug, is there's this view in society of like we put everyone in a box and things are not the same.
Yes, but there's two big boxes in this world, and that's male and female. Yes, there's intersex, which is a mutation of the normal, but those are pretty two reliable boxes.
So you want Buck Angel in there with the women?
No, like there are cases like Buck Angel. Buck Angel would scare the crap out of women if he went into women's change room.
Buck Angel's with us guys. We have
but he's still a woman. I mean, he's still female, right? So it lowers the probability that he will have this testosterone and aggression and bigger hand strength like a man would have.
Well, wait, let's use your odds thing again here, because Buck Angel, you said we're going to put the vaginas with the vaginas, and Buck Angel, I think, is on testosterone. If people are on testosterone, are they more likely to be aggressive?
Yes.
So wouldn't Buck Angel then be someone we'd want more with the men?
Yeah, well, yes, there's exceptions to the rule, but that does not invalidate the rule.
Okay, so there's
but why is it so hard for you just to have that rule in the first place?
Well, but I think I kind of agree with you that in the sense that there are some people who are going to, I think we have agreement here. Like maybe Blair White goes with the women now.
Why are you against a rule that says if you have a penis in general, like you brought up the exceptions with Blair White and Buck Angel, but what is so bad about having that general public policy rule?
So you're okay for a general public policy rule with a few exceptions?
Well, I think those exceptions could even be worked with, but okay. Can you answer my question?
I think the problem is a blanket rule. I think so. To answer your question,
I already know your answer, but I'm trying to get you to say it.
Well, the answer is a black and white rule that doesn't have any nuance has problems that we're pointing out right here, and that's the issue.
Well, every law has that problem. And that's why we have courts to decide, like, for example, murder. Is it really murder or is it manslaughter? Is it self-defense? And then we can so this is, let's say, with the Buck Angels. So Buck Angel goes in there and then it goes to the court. Okay, is this an exception? But what I'm getting at is a very general rule. Guys with schlongs, guys with dongs don't go into women's private places. What's wrong with having that general rule?
I think it's so okay, so what's I'm going to humor you here. Okay, let's define what a schlong is. What's a schlong?
A penis.
Okay. Doug, are we having our first fight? Are we a married couple now?
I've already talked to you about this issue, I think. And I know your answer, but you're not saying it.
Well, no, we're pointing it out that the issue is the black and white nature of this, that I think you're willing to make exceptions for Buck Angel, and there's other ones. There's a pole vaulter. You can Google things real quick, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to Google pole vaulter transgender, and their name is like Bjorn something, I think. Pole vaulter transgender. Did you find them? I can get their name if you want.
Pole vaulter transgender. I don't see any. What's the name?
Give me a moment. I'll find it. Just a moment.
You still haven't answered my question. What's wrong with having a general rule?
Ask the question again. I'll do it. It's Balian Basum.
I have no idea how to spell that.
Balian. Balian. Balian.
Oh, okay, found it.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to throw their picture on the screen. I mean, I can't imagine. So they're going to be in there with the women. Like that would be, I mean, if that's what we're going for. But what is, oh, that's before they transitioned, I believe.
That's a dude, right?
No, this.
Is that what?
No, they transitioned from female to male.
Female to male. So this is to me, this looks after transition then.
No. You'll have to pull up another picture. No, they transitioned from female to male. So all the pictures you're seeing of them of male are them post-transition.
Okay. And what's your point with this?
Well, now they're hanging out with the women with a full beard, and yeah, that's a younger picture of them. They now have a beard. And they look much more masculine if you pick like Okay,
but this person doesn't have a dong, doesn't have a penis.
Yeah, but they're on testosterone, which is related to aggression. But ask your question again so I can directly answer it.
Okay, so you're bringing up exceptions to the rule, but my question is, what's wrong with having that general rule?
Okay, so I will be okay with the rule, and then let's just make lots of exceptions. Like let's just do all exceptions. Like, what's the point of a rule if there's exceptions to a rule?
There's always exceptions to rules.
No, then it's not a rule.
Sure, it's still a rule.
Then it's a rule that does not always apply.
But what if it applies 99% of the time?
Then it's a guideline.
See, this gets back to my murder versus self-defense or manslaughter. Like, we have a rule in the United States that if you murder someone, you go to jail for life. But there's gray areas where, yeah, maybe there was some self-defense there. And so the sentence is lower. Maybe, or maybe no sense at all. Maybe it was manslaughter. Maybe it wasn't pre-planned. Why not why not have a rule that if you are male, you can't go in the women's change room? What's wrong with that? That general rule.
It's because I think you're calling it a guideline, because I'm agreeing with the guideline that most often men should not be going in there. But what if a man needs to, like, is Blair White and they're going into an individual room, people are not paying attention to them, and they're doing their thing, and they're not, like, if you go in there and you walk around with your dong out and you're trying to call attention to yourself and you're doing inappropriate things, then that shouldn't be done.
Okay, so let's say you and I were in charge of these exceptions.
Okay, let's do it.
You see my screen?
Yeah, so the swimmers?
Yeah, that's Leah Thomas.
Camera all the names.
So the rule is no men in women's spaces. Do you think, would you make an exception for Leah Thomas, 6'3", has a penis?
I think, okay, so are you saying that they can go into women's spaces or compete in women's sports?
Yeah, would you make the exception that they can go into a woman's change room?
I think if they're in the woman's changing room acting appropriately as one would.
This is why you guys are losing so badly. This is why you guys this is insanity.
I don't vote on this stuff, though. This is not what I vote on.
I know you don't vote on it, but just if you want people to go vote Republican, listen to what you just said. I just showed you a picture of Leah Thomas, and this is what Leah Thomas looks like today, basically.
Okay, wait. So just pull up a picture of Buck Angel right now. Come on, but you gotta do it. You gotta do me this one.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Then
but let's be clear. You would make an exception for Leah Thomas, yes or no?
I would. Being the ruler of all things. Can I rule how I want?
Yeah, I'm asking your opinion.
Then what's going to be going on in my ruling is that all of these public spaces We'll have individual changing rooms for everybody,
That's not
and
the
it'll be
question.
I know, but we should structure our society. Okay, so whoa, come on, Doug here.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have brought that one up. See, you got to remember, Buck Angel is a porn star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Buck Angel,
and a lot of his transness was to make money in the porn industry.
I don't have that much knowledge on it. So,
what are you implying? I still haven't heard an answer from you. Would you make an exception for Leah Thomas? Lean yes, lean no.
Lean yes. Would you? Is Buck Angel going to the men's room or women's room? Lean men, lean women's.
Lean men's.
Lean men's. Okay.
Yeah, but here's the difference between me and you.
Yeah.
I got to still bring.
I lean women for her. You lean women for him.
And here's why I say that, even though Buck Angel is a female, because Buck Angel passes. Like, look at that picture.
I think it's really crappy that I've heard from people saying it. Some people have a hard time passing, and there's people.
Boo-hoo for them.
Well, boo-hoo for people who are cisgender who don't pass.
True, but at least they are who they say they are. Buck Angel, if you were to talk to him, if he were here right now, he'll say, yeah. In fact, he probably would take my side. He might even disagree with me. But I guarantee you, look at this person. He looks like a guy. He has the tattoos. He would frighten women in the women's bathroom. That's why I gave my answer. But now look.
He has the men tattoos. The men tattoos.
What?
You said he has the tattoos, as though I understand. Like, sleeves are. Women get sleeves too.
But Leah Thomas does not even pass. So if you're gonna make exceptions to the rule, it has to be whether or not you pass or not.
There are 6'3" women in the WNBA who also have more masculine features.
Sure,
like Leah Thomas could be just a very tall female athlete.
Right, but we're talking about passing. Like, even the 6 foot, it's not because it's just the bare fact that Leah Thomas is really tall. Leah Thomas does not even look feminine.
Well, I don't think I want to live in this world where we're all of a sudden judging people when they walk into a bathroom on whether or not they pass. I would want.
Oh,
I've seen a lot of women that look like that. I'm not even joking. Like,
well,
I'm not.
I agree. There's
women,
ugly women in the world, but this looks like a dude. So if we're going to make exceptions, if you and I are the exception police, you got to at least pass. And I vote that Leah Thomas does not pass, and I vote that Buck Angel does pass.
Okay, so let's go to an extreme here. Now we have a woman who was born a woman, but she does not pass at all. She's cisgender. She was born a woman.
Okay.
And when she goes into she's strong. She's got those male tattoos, and when she goes into when she goes into the female changing space, all the women are kind of unnerved, and they're reporting her. They're contacting Trump. They're trying to remove the federal funding. They're all up in arms. And they say to this woman, they say, "Look, we just can't have you going into the female space." Do you think what would you say?
I would say if society says that they feel uncomfortable because they think she is a man, but she really is a she, then you can easily solve that problem and say, look, it's actually a she, and you can prove it.
How?
You can do genetic testing.
Okay, so that woman then has to have like genetic testing done and bring a genetic testing card with her?
If it needs to go down that path, yeah. Like, if it's a legal dispute, then that's what would happen.
I mean, why not just build changing rooms with private spaces?
Well, you can. But you presented me with a situation where, like, what would you do? Well, that's what you could do. Same with Imane Khalif that I brought up earlier. Like, if I believe that Imane Khalif is a male with testicles and maybe a small, very tiny penis. And so you want to change my mind on that? Show me a uterus, show me ovaries, show me XY. Until that, I will maintain that belief. And the thing is, people like you will say, "Oh, that's so unfair, Doug. That's so unfair." Well, maybe it is for Imane Khalif, but if we want a society where males don't compete against females in Olympic sports and other sports, then show me the money. Prove it to me. Prove to me that Imane Khalif has a uterus and ovaries and is a woman.
How many female athletes have proven to you that they are female athletes?
Okay, none. But when we have a situation where there's a dispute, that's how you settle it. So most of the time there is no dispute, so you don't even think about it.
Well, you know my solution for those situations, right?
For the situations where there's no dispute?
No, for sport. We've talked about this before, I think, and you don't like my solution.
Well, yeah, but you want to complicate sport to have different divisions and weights and classes.
It should just be weight.
You need to learn how to exclude people and feel okay with it.
Yeah.
That's your problem.
Exclude them by weight.
Okay. You want to exclude people by weight. Which is easier, to exclude by male, female, or by weight?
I think it's way easier. You just put someone on a scale. I think weight is the easiest thing. They walk in on the scale. Have you ever wrestled, Doug?
No. I was asked to about it.
Oh, man. Wrestling's a thrill. You get out there on the mat and you got to actually like you versus someone else. But when you go to weigh in, you can wear as little as you want. Let me just tell you some of those guys.
Do you think if you did it by weight, that would be fair?
It's about as fair can get.
Really? So you think 100-pound, let's say 150-pound male and 150-pound female are equivalent when it comes to wrestling?
Female just won wrestling states against her weight group. Yes.
In general, do you think 150-pound female and 150-pound male are equivalent? Yeah, on average. I'm sure there could be an exception.
They're not equivalent, but let me expand. Because they come from different distributions of strength and balance and flexibility.
Okay, so it's more than just weight, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot more to it.
Right. So what encapsulates these different metrics like weight, flexibility, speed, strength?
Your androgenous hormones and things like that.
Your sex!
Yeah, which is correlated with that.
Right. So my solution is very simple. We divvy up sports. Number one, the top line one, by sex. And then if you want to do weight divisions among each sex, that's fine.
Well, imagine this. We only have
What's wrong with that?
Female. I just think it's better if you just have like different divisions of like pro, elite, and different levels, and then you have them compete at those levels. And at the highest level, it might be a lot of big guys. I mean, you look at how sports have changed over years. I mean, look at the NFL 100 years ago. It's just a bunch of tiny little white guys in pigskin helmets.
You need to learn to exclude people and feel okay about it.
I am. Let's just do it by weight. Do you have another topic, Doug, or are you bored of me yet?
Well, I think it's absolutely ridiculous to go by weight.
Why? What would be so bad?
Because I think 99% of the time, a male and a female of equal weight, the female will get crushed. Like, why do women's sports exist? Like, why didn't we start by weight to begin with, or something like that? Why do women's sports exist?
I would say it's because a lot of times women weren't offered opportunities for sports. You go back 100 years ago, it wasn't considered womanly. I mean, there's not really a women's football league. I mean, not at the level we see now.
Right, but they could have opened it up and said, okay, women, join the men and play.
Well, I think they had a female kicker, maybe. It'd be great. I think we need more integration in the sports.
Okay, but why do women's sports exist?
Because opportunities to have women enjoy sport.
Okay, but let's say that they do have the opportunity. Let's say they have the opportunity to join the men. Mm-hmm. Would you then say women's sports don't need to exist?
I think in an ideal world, we wouldn't need men and women's sports if everybody is giving the opportunity where we aren't excluding people. In an ideal world. We don't live in the ideal world.
Okay, I'll tell you the real reason why women's sports exist. And it might be a hard truth for you to understand. But It's because women are inferior to men when it comes to strength and speed. They're vastly inferior when it comes to things like grip strength, lung capacity, bone density. Women, you need to say this out loud, actually. If you can do this, I think I can absolve you of this woke mind virus you have. Say this with me. Women are inferior to men in sports. Can you say that?
Can I say it differently? I will say something similar. Can I say something similar?
Okay.
Men have many biological advantages which give them better possibilities in ranges of sports in many areas.
Okay, so instead of focusing on the negative, you want to speak. You basically what you said: men are superior to women in sports.
Doug, I said
you need to learn to say this rhetoric without feeling bad.
Things like testosterone do give men an advantage.
Okay. So
that's why. Have you ever looked at female bodybuilding? A lot of them.
Yeah.
Testosterone.
And in sports, we have rules for doping, right? They shouldn't dope. We as a society have said it's not fair to dope. So it's not fair for men to compete against women because they have testosterone, right?
Just look at, sorry, that's a big topic. If you look at the highest level of sport and what's going on, especially in running and everything.
Does testosterone give athletes an advantage?
Yes.
Do men have testosterone?
Yes.
Do men have an advantage over women?
In a lot of ways, yes.
That's logic, right? That's why women's sports exist. You're welcome.
You're welcome. That where you hit? Is that the clip right there, Doug?
That's the clip. Da, 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 da.
All right. Well,
so we've learned two things here. Men shouldn't compete against women in sports. It's the first thing we learned because they have a natural advantage called testosterone. We don't allow doping, so therefore we don't allow men in women's sports, and we don't even allow women to dope, so forth. And another thing we learned is that we should have a general rule that men shouldn't be in women's spaces. If they have a penis and testicles, they shouldn't be in women's change rooms.
The guideline.
And then if we have exceptions, and I know even some people on my team might not like that, but in my view, if you don't know the difference, then there is no harm. However, I do think that you got to be very careful with these exceptions. And I do agree with you that there should be like people who want privacy. There should be and usually many places have this, like not a men's room or women's room, but like a family room or like a solo stall, whatever.
Can I hit you with some before we end, Doug? Because we're probably running up on time, right? But
I'm just waiting for Jesus to come.
I thought you don't do the religion stuff anymore.
That was it.
I think here's my problem, though. I know these are the issues that play really well, get people riled up, because the problem is people have these stories. I watched, Peter's channel, and there's these stories that they saw a trans person one time and they were, I think, I'm the touchy-feely type, right?
Yeah. It's not your fault you were born that way.
True. Well, true. Too much.
Or maybe you had a narcissistic mother. I don't know.
Too much. No, not in the least.
Okay.
Too much estrogen in the womb. But I think what I worry about is you look at what's going on with Trump. Basically, I really feel at this point we are in slight dictatorship. I'm shifting the topic on you a little bit because. Imagine Biden doing any of this, just firing generals, calling them all DEI, and just telling states you're going to do this or no funding for you. And I think what's interesting is Biden didn't really do anything.
I would support if I had two presidents, I didn't even know what party they were in.
Yeah.
A president that never fires versus a president that fires a lot. I would side with the president that fires a lot.
there's a saying, before removing a support beam in a house, make sure you know what it holds up. You don't want a load-bearing support beam knocked down and then your house collapses. And as I watched Trump go in and just start ripping apart, I'm sure we have some waste. I'm sure, it's how government is sometimes, a lot of government waste. But I worry, and
About what?
I worry that we're seeing probably a complete reformatting of the American government in the image of Trump. And when you think about the Department of Justice and anyone who would handle any sort of problems, I think Trump is just removing people left and right. Look at what happened with Social Security. They just fire the person who won't give them what they want.
I'm actually right now my intuition is you could fire probably 80% of the federal workforce and everything would be fine.
The problem is you knock out some of the support beams that are important. And
maybe.
Yeah.
But my intuition is that maybe 80% is a little high, but the vast majority of federal workers are useless.
People used to say when Biden was in office, they were like, you remember what it was like during Trump? You remember how good things were? I think people are remembering the end of Obama. I think when people think back on the good old days, they think back to 2014, 2015, 2016. I mean, you know what I mean? 10 years ago, America was doing great. Things weren't going crazy. We didn't have all this nonsense going on. We weren't talking woke left and right. And then Trump comes in, America's more divided. Biden comes in, it's even more divided. So I think maybe I have rose-colored glasses, but...
Well, if you want to go way back, why don't we go to the days of Clinton? He had a surplus even.
He did, and then Bush came in with the tax cuts, right?
Most people don't realize Clinton was the best Republican president we ever had.
True. And then Obama had drone strikes. So if I'm going to give a knock against Obama, he had drone strikes. But
what's so funny is, I'm glad you mentioned Obama because you can go back and find video footage of Obama and Clinton sounding just like Trump today.
On what issues?
On immigration, on issues of immigration and wasteful spending. Like you could play them side by side.
Well, Obama was the deporter in chief. That's what they called him, deporter in chief.
So it's just, I tend to agree with your sentiment that like Biden and Harris or the Biden administration was like really over the deep end. Like they just really took things way too far on the critical theory stuff, on the trans stuff, on the immigration stuff, and on the wasteful spending. Like the reason why the United States even had like really good positive GDP growth after COVID, it was because of the ton of debt spending.
And I really think Biden should have legalized marijuana. I don't care for it, but you want to talk about a major, you seem to have a problem with that, Doug.
Well, this seems like marijuana. What kind of issue is that?
Well, we can then do away with all the laws against it across different states. We can just move our country forward. You think about what happened with prohibition, that definitely took our country backwards. And so why not just do
most
these
states
things?
Marijuana is legal in most states already, right?
Maybe half-ish. It's like decriminalized and you can't grow it.
I think it's legal in Arizona now.
I'm like, oh, Doug. I saw my thing blink or something.
Yeah, no, I'm just transferring tabs here. Is marijuana... I don't even know why you're bringing this up, but is marijuana legal?
Well, my problem is people say, what Harris would have done. So I'm actually siding with you on this. So it's almost like when Obama came in, we had a Democrat control and a Democrat president, and we got nothing done as Democrats. And then we had Biden in office who could have done executive orders just like Trump is doing and could have told states to do things, yet Biden didn't do anything. So I kind of agree with you that the Democrats, one, they're not putting out a good message. I don't think we have a winning message. And two, when they've had power, they haven't done anything of real use with the power. I mean, they've had some.
Yeah, but my intuitions tell me that you're thinking if only the Democrat Party would shift more to the left and become more Bernie Sanders-like, then they would win. I know you.
Well, I would have said Bernie before you if you had let me. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're thinking that the downside of the Democrat Party is not so much that they the problem is that they're not left enough, and they're giving in to the values and shifting to the right, when if only they would stay principled and far left, then they would win. And that's BS.
Well, you take a look at something like homelessness. The way you solve homelessness is you put people in low housing. You put them in something they can live in and actually be taken care of and get their mental health dealt with. And you get them working a job, and you get them a caseworker who can work with them to actually help them provide for themselves.
Why ought the government be involved with homelessness?
I don't know if your city is like a lot of other major cities where you have people it's insane, Doug. The problem has expanded.
I know, but there's the private sector can deal with it and the public sector. What's your argument for why the government should do it?
Because I've seen countries that have dealt with it and it fixes the problem. So I would like us to help people, the touchy-feely side.
Okay, so you just think the government would do a better job?
Correct. I haven't seen the private sector in any country deal with it in a way that actually alleviates the problem.
Okay, because I know there's a ton of charities out there who specialize in working with the homeless, and they take no federal funding.
I truly think that the government should be, every person who's on the street or found living on the street should be put into housing and have a caseworker who is either getting them the mental health or the whatever they need to get them back on their feet so that they can sustain themselves and we can have another productive member of society.
You know, there's hardly any homelessness in rural communities.
I'd have to check that.
That's true. And it's not zero, but homelessness is a big city problem. So here's my solution. You pick up all the homeless people and you take them out of cities. You put them on farms and you make them work. And when they work, and then a lot of them are on drugs, I agree. So you have to have maybe some nurses there to give them some shot of something to help them deal with the withdrawal. But when after a full day of pulling weeds, then I tell you, that supper, that dinner at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, it tastes really good. And then they have a really good night's sleep. And then they get paid a little bit of money for, working, and they get dignity. I mean, I could solve homelessness by bringing them onto farms. And then we don't need all the illegal, cheap slave labor from Mexico or wherever. We get the homeless people to pick our grapes.
So let's take your idea and let's see if I want to know. Let's try it. I like this. Okay. Because you've got a Iraq war veteran. He's now in his early 50s. He has chronic pain and depression, and he's overweight, and he's been living on the streets for a decade. So he doesn't have good social skills, and he's got problems being around people.
Okay, so, perfect. So, I love you brought this up. Okay, because the point you're making is that guy can't work.
Well, no, I'm not quite saying that, but go ahead.
Okay, but let's assume that he can do some, but not like hard physical labor. You put a guy like that in charge of the younger guys, and who's more like, oh, you missed a weed here, or you need to go to that row now. He does more of the administrative stuff, and that gives him, like, he's older, so he deserves a little more respect. That gives him even more dignity.
So you would be okay with paying...
You don't give people dignity by just giving them free stuff.
Well, I'm almost, Doug, I'm not hating this idea.
I know, I think it's a good idea.
Well, as the government's going to need to have administration over this, right? They're going to have to pay the nurses.
No. I'm saying you could even do this without the government at all. In fact, I could start my own business tomorrow, a non-profit business, get a GoFundMe account, and well, no, I guess would need government help because I wouldn't make this voluntary. So basically, I would clean up the streets of major cities. I would need the federal government's okay to say, okay, it's illegal to be homeless. It's illegal to be homeless. So then I would say, okay, here's your choices. You go to jail or you come with me. Where are we going, Doug? We're going to a beautiful farm in Yuma, Arizona. It's hot there, but we'll give you lots of water, and they've got shade. But I tell you, it's beautiful. And then they come in, and then they work. And then a nurse, we need this guy's starting to convulse because he's going through withdrawals. Give him a little shot of something. Okay, sleep that one off. And then, yeah, you're going to be a little rough for a week. But after that, I mean, this is a great job. Free food, free shelter, little cash money in your pocket to go on the weekend to play pool. And I mean, then you can see the fruits of your labor. I mean, look at that row. It used to have a ton of weeds and now it has none. Or look at that row. It used to be full of grapes and now it has none. Look what you did. Great job. This is how you give people dignity. This is how people get off drugs, is by having a job and feeling content and worthwhile to society.
I do agree, but I
and this
think
is why Indian reservations don't work.
This is why what?
Indian reservations don't work.
You can't gish gallop on me, Doug. You can't gish gallop.
No, this is related. This is on the topic of dignity. Like, if you want to see how government can corrupt a people, how government can destroy people, look at the American Native population, the suicide rates, because on the reservation they get everything free. Everything. From snowmobiles to motorbikes to cars to food to shelter. Everything's paid for by the U.S. taxpayer, and they have no reason to get up in the morning. They have no reason to live their life.
I cannot speak for them.
In Canada, it's even worse.
Well, I think going back to the previous thing, I do agree that good work, good exercise, good food, good socialization will help people. But I think, and I want our government to do that, I think it is beneficial for all of society that we have people healthy, happy, and productive in society. So I don't mind my tax dollars going towards that. So Doug, my tax dollars can go towards your nonprofit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone in the live stream made a good comment that some of these people are just insane, not because of drugs, they're just insane. And I do think, tell me what you think of this. I think we need to bring insane asylums back. You can call them a better name, like love centers. But we need to actually give people the help they need and realize they will never, ever be productive members of society. But we need to protect them from themselves and them from other people, and have communities. Like back in the 50s and 60s, I think insane asylums were quite common.
Yeah, but I think there was a lot of abuse and a lot of problems within.
Sure, but we hire guys like you who are very touchy-feely, very lovey-dovey, to make sure there's no abuse and that they're actually getting the help they need. I would actually support my tax dollars for these type of mental health institutions to come back in mass. But the downside for you, though, would be like you would lose 20% of your party.
Doug. I'm glad I can, like, nothing you say really can unnerve me. It's all.
I know you're a good guy,
but
you're strong. You're German.
Well, it might be.
Are you German?
Well, I'm not an Elon Musk type of German. I'll tell you that much. So,
do you have a problem with Elon Musk? Be honest.
I think he's not a gamer. I'll tell you that much. But did you see that thing?
Yeah, I don't want to get into that. You bragged about being number one, and he wasn't. But
I think Elon, for about $400 or $500 million, basically bought the presidency. I think Elon is running the show now.
Okay, and is that bad?
I think it's bad that Trump said he could never be bought, and obviously he showed he can be bought. That shows he definitely is not a man of his word, and I don't like that someone literally just, in my opinion, bought access to.
Do you think Elon Musk is controlling Trump?
I think Trump gave him unlimited power. It's like a cheat code.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, Doge is doing whatever they want. Doge is walking into every government, every checks and balance we have does not apply to Doge.
Okay, so when Elon Musk goes in with his big balls, I mean he doesn't have big balls, I don't think. You're under the impression that when he says something, it's automatically done?
Oh yeah, when he says to the Social Security people, we're getting this information, or the IRS, we're getting this information, if you don't give it over, people are gone.
Okay, but where does his authority come from?
It comes from Trump. Right.
So it's Trump who runs it, Trump who signs off on it. My point is that if Elon Musk wanted to do A and Trump says, no, not A wins.
I think, it's interesting. Why does Trump bend the knee to Musk?
He isn't.
I think he's in the Oval Office with him running the show. It's a weird world we
But
live
Trump,
in.
like, out of all the people, out of all the politicians that is like so egotistical, like Trump would be up there. You think Elon Musk, if Trump is dead set on doing this, you think Elon Musk, he's going to say, no, Elon. He might not do it publicly because he likes Elon Musk. And you're right, Elon Musk did help him win, but so did people like Charlie Kirk and other people.
I mean, who runs X? You know, Elon. And you got to think this. Do you wonder ever if Elon has the ability to promote things on X in a way that would be unbalanced? Back when people got mad at Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, people were like, oh, it's so unfair. They're doing these ads. It's like Elon gave basically $500 million to Trump and runs the social media organization that was the big part of the conversation for the election. So,
yeah, but
I mean,
but this we live in a free country. That's totally fine.
Well, when you look at what happened with like the JD Vance docket, that got pretty much destroyed.
By who? By Musk?
By X, yeah, Musk on Twitter.
How can you destroy a document?
He banned the people posting it, so that way it wouldn't get out.
He banned the people posting it. So if I were to find it, so you're saying I can't find it right now on X?
It shouldn't be on X, but it might be around. The journalist got banned on X.
What's it called? I'll look for it right now. What's it called?
Sure. JD Vance docket.
Can you be more specific?
It was docket of information. It was like the docket on all of the, basically all the vetting they did on JD Vance. JD Vance Dozier. The leaked JD Vance Dozier. There it is. I don't know if it's completely out, but
February 22nd, 2025. No,
it wouldn't be February.
No, that's wrong.
The Guardian has an article about it.
Known legal proceedings involving JD Vance versus Franklin Lakes Borough, that type of stuff.
No, it's it was leaked by independent journalist Ken Kippenstein.
But what was leaked exactly?
It was a lot of information about basically the good and the bad of JD Vance, like everything they did when they were vetting him, you know, when you have somebody who might be on a campaign, but then Musk was removing it from Twitter and banning people over it.
What's the name of the guy who leaked it?
Ken Kippenstein. Ken Klippenstein, sorry, Klippenstein.
Ken Klippenstein.
So it's interesting to me.
Ken Klippenstein, an independent journalist known for national security reporting, published a 271-page document on September 26, 2024 via his Substack newsletter. This document, dubbed the JD Vance Dossier, was a Trump campaign vetting file on Vance, compiled in February 2024 when he was being considered as Trump's... That?
Yes. And then he got banned over it. It was removed, and he was removed off Twitter or X. He might be back now, but he was removed.
The dossier release stirred controversy because it allegedly came from an Iranian hack of the Trump campaign, a claim the U.S. intelligence community supported in statements from August to September. Klippenstein received it from a source named Robert. That sounds pretty legit. And published it unredacted, including Vance's address and most of his social security number. Could that have something to do with why it was not published on X?
I'm not for that being published, but did you hear about WikiLeaks with Hillary Clinton? That was leaked across X and kept up.
By the way, you know, everything I'm reading right now, I'm reading from X.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. No, but the document itself was removed.
Probably because if the document had his personal information in it, like his address.
Which I do not think we should be doxing people.
Right. So there you go. That's why maybe it wasn't.
But here's the thing. Why was WikiLeaks, which had a lot of, I think it might have had some personal information too for Democrats, WikiLeaks was kept up on Twitter and was released right before the 2016 election with Hillary Clinton.
So you're saying Trump allowed something from WikiLeaks that allowed something that...
No, I'm saying is when you look at the standards of what goes on and how Elon controls the messaging, it's no shock to me that Elon gives Trump $500 million, around that amount. Mm-hmm. And he's also in control of one of the largest social media platforms in the world.
Okay, but is he doing anything wrong, in your opinion?
I want to see the rules held equally. Do you think we should have pictures of Hunter Biden's penis even shown on the floors of Congress?
Do I think we should show pictures of people's penises on Congress?
Yeah.
Not if it's on C-SPAN, no.
Well, I think it was Lauren Boebert who was doing that. The rules are not applied equally.
But you still haven't answered my question. Do you think what is... I understand you don't think Elon Musk should not have this influence and power that he does. But given that he does right now, what has he done that's wrong in your opinion?
Getting people fired, getting people removed who are upholding the rules and laws of these of like what we do within these government groups that would keep people safe with their information. I don't like that some, random people are now having access to IRS information, Social Security information. It's one more group. I mean, how many times has your information been leaked, Doug? Like, I'm talking socials and birth dates and stuff like that.
I don't know.
It's go look at your credit cards. Usually they tell you it's been leaked on the dark web, and just to think that some of this information is probably secure, but now it's just in the hands of more people.
So now it sounds like your main problem is what potentially could happen, but not what's actually happened.
Well, that was what was argued in one of the cases recently, is that they said that the people of Doge should have access to this because all that's being argued here is potential harm.
Right.
And that's frankly how harm happens, is that it's like just giving more people access to this with no good reason.
But you know how weak an argument that is? It's like, well, it might happen, so therefore we should disallow it.
Well, that's like saying, let's just give everyone the nuclear codes in America because it's safe. Someone might use them, but it hasn't happened yet.
What incentive, like you've heard this argument against yours, I'm sure of it. He used to own PayPal.
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm.
He had access to people's social security numbers. Were you against him owning PayPal and having access to people's social security numbers?
I don't think PayPal stored your social.
Yes, of course it does. Whenever you transfer money from PayPal to your main account or fund it, whenever they even had like the PayPal debit cards or credit cards, you got to give your social security number.
It depends on how they're storing it. If it's like through a secure encryption or something, though.
So if Elon Musk wants to do devilish things with your identity and your personal information, he could have done it on PayPal.
No, but I don't think they're storing your social on PayPal. I don't think they're keeping it in their database. I'm not certain on that, Doug.
But he controlled people's money.
Yes, and that is truth right there. He would have done that.
And that's what your biggest fear is with the social security number, right?
But just because someone controls your money doesn't mean that they should then have access to more private information on you.
Well, he had access to people's addresses, phone numbers.
Yeah, but just because
bank accounts.
Just because someone has that access doesn't mean they deserve more access.
But you see what I'm getting at? You're condemning a guy. He shouldn't have this information when he's already had it when he owned PayPal.
But just because he started,
and nothing bad happened.
There's been issues with PayPal.
So, there's been issues before Elon with the government.
I know, but my issue is that we didn't elect Elon Musk. We didn't, we talked, remember when you told me Trump doesn't know anything about Project 2025, and now Trump is doing everything Project 2025.
And I hope if this is Project 2025, I want more. Seriously.
Well, you told me, you said, he says he doesn't know anything about it, and I believe him. I think that was what you told me.
Yeah.
But no, Trump, I think, the thing is, Trump came in and, in my opinion, is acting like a dictator. I know I said that earlier. And I'll probably let you go with this, Doug. Thank you for your time. But I do not see this as part of the American experiment where we have checks and balances and we work together. This is a unilateral decision-making process.
That's because the Republicans have all the power and you guys have none.
But they don't have all the courts. They don't have all...
They have the Supreme Court.
They don't have all the federal courts. They don't have all the state governments.
Right, but you agree that the Supreme Court's right-leaning, yes?
I do agree, but
so when the appeal process happens, all these federal
could.
courts don't matter.
It could, but here's the thing: is it should take place. It shouldn't just be Trump saying, "Every state, you have to do what I say." It was Antonin Scalia who always talked about states' rights.
He's exercising his executive authority, which the American people voted for.
To tell every state exactly what to do? I thought
not exactly, but like, for example, we talked about the no males competing against females in sports. He made it an executive order. He threatens withholding federal funding if people don't comply. All of this is legal. And any court that says it isn't, it's going to lose. And especially if it goes to the Supreme Court. And so he's threatening states like Maine that don't comply legally. And if you don't like it, like, tough luck. Like, the Democrats have no leverage and no power.
I'm pretty sure that the Trump administration is not following court orders. Trump administration hasn't complied with court order to foreign aid freeze, judge says. So judge says Trump administration isn't following his funding order. So
and that will be appealed, and then we'll go to, if it needs to, it will go to the Supreme Court, and Trump will win.
Well, no. This is a funding issue with Trump was told by courts not to do this.
Not to do what? To freeze?
It's
completely in the executive's power to freeze funds.
Trump administration hasn't complied with order to halt foreign aid freeze. The administration was ordered last week to continue the disbursement of foreign aid after Trump ordered a pause. So Trump was ordered by a court to stop the freeze, I think it is. And Trump has not complied with that.
I don't think the order was to halt the freeze.
It's the Trump administration has not fully complied with the court.
Are you reading from like a one of those left-wing granola crunching websites?
It's AP News.
Oh yeah, of course.
Come on, Doug. This is not.
They're still bitter for being kicked out of the press room.
All right. Well, it's the thing is Trump doesn't care if a court tells him what to do. He doesn't care if a judge. It was J.D. Vance who said a general doesn't take orders from judges. I think, like during a war, a general's not going to listen to the judges. Like J.D. Vance is just saying Trump is king. I'm being serious.
But you know he's messing with you, right?
How is he messing with me saying Trump doesn't have to listen to court orders?
J.D. Vance said Trump doesn't have to listen to court orders.
I'll get you the exact quote.
Okay, please do.
Okay. What do you might need to say something while I find this.
You're granola crunching, you're hugging.
Okay, here Vance says, "Oh, really? I have to pay to read this article."
You got to pay?
It's one of those sites it was New York Times. I clicked on it and it said,
"Oh no, give me the link. I can get in for free."
Okay, well, give me a second. I'm going.
Or I don't have to pay.
Okay, then Okay. It's New York Times. Vance says, if you just Google New York Times, Vance says judges aren't allowed to control Trump's. And yeah, it was like a week and a half ago now. And he mentioned
Trump or J.D. Vance?
J.D. Vance says Trump doesn't have to listen to court orders.
Let's see if I can get in.
Okay. They want me to pay for all this?
Don't worry, I got you. I got you back.
Oh, thank you. I mean, if I pay for it, then I have to give them I'll give them all my information because I trust them, right?
Yeah, exactly. I would trust Elon Musk before the New York Times.
Here it is. If a judge tried to tell a general how to conduct a military operation, that would be illegal, Vance said in his post on the social media platform X. If a judge tried to command the attorney general on how to use her discretion as a prosecutor, that would be illegal. So basically, now they want me to pay, I think. No. Judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power.
Okay, but that's different than what you said. You said that J.D. Vance basically says that, or told Trump not to listen to the court. What J.D. Vance is saying there, if I'm understanding correctly, is he's giving his opinion that when it does go to court, that this is why they're going to win.
No, federal judges have already halted this. Federal judges have halted what Trump is doing, and J.D. Vance has replied that he said judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate powers, and compared it to judges telling a general how to conduct a military operation.
I'm not seeing that quote in this. I got the article here too, in New York Times.
I can drop.
Are you reading an article, or are you reading from the New York Times?
I found it on the Hill. I had to Google around.
Yeah, see, don't trust these guys. Trust Elon Musk. Don't trust the Hill. Okay, I got it up here, exactly what you were saying. Okay, if a judge tried to tell a general, okay, I found what you were reading from the Hill. If a judge tried to tell a general how to conduct a military operation, that would be illegal, he wrote. So what J.D. Vance is implying here is the judge is doing something illegal. If a judge tried to command the attorney general on how to use her discretion as a prosecutor, that's also illegal. So again, J.D. Vance is saying that this judge is doing something illegal. It has been more common ground for obvious blah, blah, blah. But Mr. Vance has repeatedly asserted that presidents should ignore court orders they believe intrude on their own view of their constitutional authority. Okay, but there's no quote here. This is the New York Times giving an editorial. Okay, so I'm continuing to look for the quote.
The quote is, judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. So he thinks everything Trump is doing is basically, when Trump does something as president, he's the executive office, and judges can't then question the president, which is the idea of checks and balances.
Okay, but do you admit that's different than J.D. Vance telling Trump to ignore the courts?
Correct. He's saying that the courts cannot tell Trump what to do.
Right. He's giving his opinion, whether right or wrong, that what the courts are doing is illegal. So which is different than the claim you made that J.D. Vance is advising Trump to ignore them.
So if what the court, let's just say if the court is doing something illegal, is it logical for Trump to ignore the courts?
I've actually heard Trump with his own mouth say that he will abide by what the courts say and then just win it in court.
Well, but he's not.
Okay, and you're saying because of the halting of the freezing, which means he shouldn't freeze.
He's been ordered by the court to go against what he's currently doing. He's been ordered to do this.
Well, depends on which court and on which things, because some courts some courts have already overturned the previous ruling, I believe, on some things in some departments in some agencies.
But there are current court rulings from federal courts that he is not.
Okay, but what agency are you talking about? The USAID?
It's a lot. There's so much. There's so much.
I know. It's a big mess, but
it's a big mess.
And from my understanding, the executive has authority. This is what the executive cannot do. They cannot terminate unilaterally the agency USAID. That's only Congress can do that, and Congress has funds the agency USAID. That's the Congress's job. So the president does not have the authority to mess with that. But from my understanding, the executive has the authority to temporarily freeze funding for certain purposes. And that it could be national security or whatever.
And that's why we have checks and balances, because then a court can come in and say, no, it's not going to go that way.
Right. And so the court, I believe, has come in and said that Trump can't do something. I'm not sure if it's the freezing or whatever. But J.D. Vance is saying, no, Trump can do this. The court's saying, no, Trump can't.
J.D. Vance is saying the courts have no purview. They have no.
Right. That's J.D. Vance's opinion. Trump's opinion, from what I've understood, is that he will abide by the courts, but the courts are wrong, and it will be settled in court, and eventually maybe the Supreme Court if it needs to go.
Let's just say J.D. Vance is right, though. Let's say J.D. Vance is right. Doesn't that mean there's no checks and balances? Because if the courts have no purview, or no standing, we should say, then There is no check and balance on Trump's executive power.
Yeah, there's no checks and balances with the authority of the executive. You're right. But we have three branches of government. No, listen to me. What you're advocating for is a type of checks and balances within each branch of government. But each branch
No, this is the judicial check on executive.
The checks and balances on the executive is Congress, Senate, and the Supreme Court, or the judiciary.
The judiciary, which the federal courts are a part of.
But the executive has the power to hire and fire who they want. Now, there's certain rules on, like, you have to give 30 days notice or 60 days notice, whatever it is. But that is totally in the purview of the executive.
Yeah, but when a federal court gives them an order, the Supreme Court has stated in their rulings that in any sort of issuing of a order has to be complied with promptly. And Trump is not complying with orders. So the checks and balances are not being followed. And this is like a first in America where we have the president being like, I'm just not going to do what the courts say. And then J.D. Vance, go ahead.
Was it U.S. aid? I'm trying to look it up.
No, there's birthright issues, there's USA, there's multiple things that have been halted.
Yeah, well, the birthright one, I think, is
more than 10 federal courts have sided against Trump.
Yeah, but I think, well, that one I'm not sure of. I think I give it a 50-50 chance of passing in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but the thing is you're supposed to then let it go to the Supreme Court. Like, I wouldn't be all up in arms.
Well, he is.
No, but you comply while it's going to the Supreme Court. You have.
Well, he is complying on the birthright, but your claim is that it's not on the U.S. aid, right?
Those are some of the ones he's not complying on. We know he's not complying on all orders. So why is Trump saying all the states have to get in line with DEI, and Trump's going to then remove federal funding, yet Trump won't get his own administration in line with the things they have to comply with? There's no check and balance here. There's King Trump.
Okay, hang on. I'm reading something here from Grok. On January 20th, 2025, Trump signed an executive order imposing a 90-day freeze on nearly all U.S. foreign aid, which is from the U.S. aid agency, aiming to review programs for alignment. This halted billions of USA funding, which I'm all for. On February 13, 2025, U.S. District Judge Amir H. Ali issued a temporary restraining order in response to a lawsuit from the AIDS vaccine advocacy. He ruled that the blanket suspension of congressionally appropriated funds caused irreparable harm to contractors. However, compliance faltered. Okay, this is the part you're getting at, I think. On February 20, 2025, Judge Ali found that the administration continued withholding funds despite his order. He noted that U.S. Aid Deputy Secretary Meet Morocco and others maintained the freeze.
I just have to crack up really quickly, Doug, at someone in your chat saying that Congress is the checks and balance. They're the legislative branch that writes the laws, the executive enacts the laws, and judiciary interprets the laws. So this is the whole idea of checks and balances right here. And
right.
You're right. If Trump does not agree with something, then he can challenge the federal court ruling. It could go up to his Supreme Court. They could rule in Trump's favor, but that's the way it goes because the judiciary branch is the judicial branch, excuse my language there, is part of the checks and balance. It's not Congress is the checks and balance. I'm just looking at your comments and I'm like, Congress is not the checks and balance. It's part of the three branches of government.
Well,
it's part of it.
But yeah, it's part of it. It's not all of it.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay,
it's not.
But here's an interesting thing I've just read here.
Go ahead.
A judge has the power to hold the administration, the executive, in contempt for not doing what they say, but they haven't. That's interesting.
Here's the thing: if anyone goes after Trump or his administration, he's just going to start plucking people off benches. I mean, he's already doing it when you look at, Social Security systems or the administration. He's just removing people who have been.
Okay. Hang on. Sorry. This is interesting. And I'm glad we're talking about this because I'm learning new things. So what the administration did to get around the freeze or the judge's order, the administration claimed in a filing that it could freeze funds independently of the executive order, a stance Ali rejected as non-compliant. The situation remains fluid. So in other words, A February 14th Guardian report confirmed that the initial order challenged Trump's freeze, but a February 19th Washington Post piece highlighted the administration's defiance, arguing that the restraining order didn't apply broadly. By February 20th, AP News reported Ali's frustration with ongoing noncompliance, though no contempt ruling was issued. Why, I wonder? Because he probably would lose. Posts on X reflect public sentiment that Trump is ignoring the court, but no definitive resolution, full compliance, or enforcement has emerged by today's date. So no, Trump's administration hasn't fully complied with the USAID freeze lift order as of now. The freeze persists in practice despite legal pushback, with the administration reviewing programs individually rather than restoring funds as directed. So, anyhow, that's Grok's take on it.
They're not complying. I mean, that's the long and short to me.
But it sounds like what they're doing is maybe they're freezing some parts and not others. So,
yeah, it's a whole mess to me.
Yeah, it is a mess. But I actually am okay with, like, I know you're bringing up the broader point of checks and balances.
Yeah.
But the whole issue of U.S. aid, in my opinion, it needs to go down.
Oh yeah, I think so.
So you agree with that?
In a lot of ways.
Okay, so you're more the principled philosophical type argument here that Trump should be fully complying, and he seemingly is not. He might be doing some legal maneuvering and to get away with this. That's what Grok is sort of implying here. But in principle, you support Trump?
I think there's a lot of problems. I do agree in part with Doge that I think we need to clean up, and I think we need to look at how we're giving out aid. I think there's a lot of waste, but Elon came out with the chainsaw, and I said it earlier, when you're taking out support beams, you might have a load-bearing support beam. We need to understand what we are removing and do it efficiently and transparently. And as far as I can see, it's just Elon barging indoors and ripping apart things. And then,
okay, do you believe Trump, as the commander in chief of the executive, has the power to hire and fire people?
He does.
Okay, so he can hire Elon, yes?
Of course.
And he can say to Elon, go look at this department and look for waste?
Sure.
And including even you have my permission as my hired employee to even look at people's social security numbers. You okay with that?
No, he would need some sort of clearance or reason, or you should.
Yeah, he has clearance from the president of the United States.
The president can just give like C and Q clearance and stuff like that. I know that's not a C and Q clearance, but the president, I wouldn't want the president to just be able to.
Okay, well, I'm not asking what you want, I guess. What I'm asking is this legal? When I say, can the president do this? The answer is yes, right?
I actually don't know if the president can just say you have access to people's socials. I don't know. I don't want our system set up that way that the president can just tell people.
I think he can.
Like the president could just declassify all our personal information and just put it all.
Like if you and I were to
this is sounding more like a king, Doug. This sounds like a dictator.
If you and I wanted to go to see the gold in Fort Knox, do you believe President Trump has the authority to get us in there?
I think that is access to a spot. That is not access to information. Information and visiting somewhere are different. I think Trump could get access to Fort Knox. Yes.
Okay, so that's. I'm just getting to the point that the president of the United States has quite a bit of power, and one of those powers is to hire people to go in to seek out waste, even if that includes seeing people's social security numbers. I think that's completely legal. Now, you might not like it, you might not trust Elon, but really what you don't like and what you don't trust doesn't matter.
I think there needs to be a process by which it's shown he needs access to these things when you file for access.
But now you're talking legally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you and I agreed that the president of the United States has that type of power already. And he can just unilaterally, like a dictator, I'll even use your language, he can dictate this. Elon Musk has the power. I'm bequeathing power to Elon Musk to go in, find the ways, even if that includes looking up people's social security numbers. I give you that power, Elon. There's nothing you can do about it or say about it other than you don't like it.
Do you know what I think happened, Doug? We can end with this, because I think what happened was, as I reflect on this, is Trump was a businessman who, you know, he made some money. He started out with some advantages. Elon made more money, started out with some advantages too. And what do businesses do? They buy other businesses. So Elon, you know, he's wearing that Trump black. You see where I've gone with this, right? Elon came in and bought the Trump business. He bought the Trump presidency. And now Elon, I'm just wondering how things will be 2 to 5 years from now. And we'll see.
We'll find out.
But something tells me Elon will be more richer. So more richer, is that good grammar?
Is Trump richer or poorer than he was in 2016?
Oh, I think he's way richer.
That's false. Look it up.
Have you seen what his family has and everyone around him has now? Like Ivanka and Jared are insanely wealthy from this whole thing. And Trump has more than ever now.
Yeah, I guess Hunter Biden's also wealthier too.
True. I'll give you that.
But if you actually look up Donald J. Trump net worth has gone down.
He literally did a crypto coin pumping.
But just look it up. If you don't believe me, look it up. Net worth in 2020, 2016, and now.
Net worth.
I'll look it up too.
Okay. Visual Capitalist has a graph on it. Oh no, he surged. Oh, Doug, you're gonna hate this. He surged to 5.7 billion according to this.
What's his net worth today? What are you seeing?
It showed 5.7 billion.
Okay, I looked it up yesterday. I saw 3.1.
It says 6.1 billion now, and this is at the end of December last.
You're reading from The Hill again?
No, he has True Social, which is, no, I'm reading from Forbes. So, yeah, no, he's True Social and a lot of other sites. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. True Social went crazy when he became president. Yeah, you might be right for 2025.
Yeah.
But his first term, I'm looking up that now.
It's going to be an interesting world. I appreciate your time, Doug. We had a good conversation.
Yeah, I always enjoy talking to you. Come back again.
Well, have a good night, Doug.
Yep, see ya. I want to look up Trump's net worth in 2020. The music too loud? Okay, 2.5 billion in 2020. Okay, what was it in 2016? I could be wrong. What did I say? Yeah, okay. So his Donald Trump's net worth went down from 2016 to 2020, which is rare for a president, but then went back up from 2020 to 2025. So I was wrong about the second term, but right about the first term. Okay. Let me go one more round here and check the live stream chat. I have ignored you guys. More late night streams, please. Missed this one. Split the US into another 10 provinces. Yeah. Dalai Lama, are you in Canada? I think I'm trying to break a record here. No, I won't break it. I think my record's over 4 hours. Doug is just ignorant on so many levels. It's weird. Doug's a good boy. He didn't do nothing. It's already dropped a lot, but the estimate around 7 billion before he became president. Yeah, it's really, Donald Trump is one of those guys that's really hard. It's not like he owns stock. Like with guys like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, it's easier to figure out their net worth because of stock. But real estate holdings is a little difficult. Michael Smith says, I legitimately believe Trump wants the best for America and isn't doing this for money. I believe that as well. I don't share these fears that Trump is this evil dictator and Elon Musk is going to steal your identity and take your money. And I think you only hurt the Democrat Party if you state that narrative. Which is interesting because my liberal friend here actually agrees with getting rid of USAID. So in principle, he likes what Trump's doing, just philosophically thinks it's kind of icky because of the checks and balance thing. My apologies to Elon Musk. He was scheduled to come on. I saw him on X. We talked a little bit. He was scheduled to come on, but we ran out of time.